Hi, I'm Joe Lynch, director of such cinematic classics as Wrong Turn 2, Knights of Badassdom, Everly, and of course the new film, Mayhem. And when I'm not masturbating to Sasquatch porn, I'm listening to Nightmare Junkhead. Ooh, it feels so good.
In and out of your consciousness like a bad dream you can't wake from, this is the Nightmare Junkhead Podcast, a horror podcast that knows the pain and discomfort of sitting on a tack. My name is Greg
Ouch! D. Genius McGee.
And on today's episode, we're delving even deeper into the mouth of March Madness as we welcome Media Rewind and Let's Survive to help us break down the remaining horror classics from our 2001 bracket. And you don't have to be full of stars to listen in to our show. Simply search for Nightmare Junkhead wherever podcasts are played. Hit subscribe, and when we drop our latest episode, it will download directly to your listening device of choice.
All up in your ouch hole.
And as this episode, I should say then, if you're channeling your inner Satan there and you're on social media, you of course can find us on Twitter at Nightmare Junk and on Facebook at Nightmare Junkhead. And of course it is on that Book of Face where we have an events tab, which again leads to
Shenanigans and Odyssey Shenanigans.
And this episode is going to be released on Friday, March 19th. We are recording way in advance.
Yeah, we're containing the madness.
We know, though, that whatever shenanigans are going to be going on, we will list them. And I will say this, we will be having our latest Friday Night Fright on that Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, ideally, it will be one of the films that we have talked about here in our Into the Mouth of March Madness tournament.
So you know it's going to be a good one.
We are looking to program the entirety of the month of March for that. So
the madness has gone beyond the bracket and now has infested the theater like the blob. Just blah.
And we are going to have Tony Gardner work on those effects. But more importantly, you can, of course, have access to our bracket, because without that,
how are you going to play the game?
And, of course, you can find it on all elements of social media.
And remember, show your work.
Absolutely. And that's what we did the last round here, Genius. We've gone from 8 films down to 4.
Yep.
Here in the round of the Scream 16 in the year of 2001.
Man, I'm so ready for the year 2001.
I'm glad we don't have to do that every single time because it was really taxing on the throat. I understand your issue with the Rush reference. So if you ever want to cancel that, I totally get it. But I also have a little bit of nostalgia for that. I'm not going to lie.
Absolutely.
Especially the look on the guest's face if they weren't familiar with the Conan bit. And they're what's going on here? But as we enter the next round, we are going to expand our talk and our guest, as we like to do. And if there's any time there's going to be any kind of action-oriented elements in a film, especially with horror, ideally there's always a person we're going to reach out to.
Oh, yeah.
And when we realized when we were putting together the lineup for 2001, there were multiple films that we were like, you know what? You know who's going to be a good person to talk to?
No, we got some action horror on here. Who we going to call?
We were going to call Scott Atkins.
Right.
But, unfortunately, he's...
Scott Atkins!
Oi.
Yuri Boyga.
But we realized we had to, be a little bit more realistic, and we have someone that is definitely an actioneer expert. You all know him as the co-host of the Media Rewind podcast, but more importantly, as a co-host of this little thing we used to do called the Nerds of Nostalgia. Please welcome back to Nightmare Junkhead and Into the Mouth of March Madness, Dustin Pryor.
Hey, guys.
What's up, dude?
No offense to you guys, but if I look like Scott Atkins, I wouldn't be on your pod.
None taken.
I'd be out doing Frank Reynolds shenanigans.
You'd be in some like Yugoslavian prison fighting. It's like trying to get out, like Scott
Maybe.
Atkins, fighting for what's right.
Yuri Baldy.
Put it on a poster and print it.
Exactly.
There we go.
I just would like the fact that if we were traveling alongside somewhere, you could just break out a spin kick in front of a stranger and just dazzle them.
And unfortunately, if I do that, now I'm going to pull a hammy. I'll be like Peter Griffin on the ground.
Ow!
That is fair. That is fair. Well, where can any of our listeners find you out on social media? Please plug and promote away.
Well, you can find Genius and I out on the Twitterverse at Media Rewind Pod. You can find us on the Facebooks at Media Rewind Podcast. And we are actually getting ready to launch Season 10C of AMC's The Walking Dead.
I'm ready. I'm fucking ready.
So
answer.
So at this point in this late in March, we're about mid-March at this point. How many episodes in?
Probably about 3.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
About 3 or 4 episodes in.
Now, that being said, do you want to go ahead and post any predictions at this point, 3 episodes in?
I want to see a lot more Negan, because I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan has done a great job with that character, and I think we're getting a lot more of his backstory in the final 30 episodes of the show.
I want to see the showdown between Negan and Maggie.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be interesting. That's going to be that.
Right
answer.
So to make sure you're getting all that scintillating conversation and chemistry, and let's face it, I don't watch the show, but I listen. I don't watch the shows, but I listen to the show, and that's the stuff that brings me back. So yeah, make sure you're checking out the Media Rewind podcast, and I'm really glad you're here for this round, Dustin, because we've got 4 films that kind of extend what you can do with horror.
Yeah, there's no. In some years, it's easy to see the theme. It's easy to see, like, okay, 70s are dour, 80s are gratuitous, blah, blah, blah. But with this one especially, with the new millennium and all rules are gone, it's really hard to pinpoint, and everything's diverse.
Well, and that's the best thing. We literally have a relic from the 80s. We have some psychological horror or thriller.
Mm-hmm.
We have a historical period piece,
right,
with a lycanthrope, and then we have another one that is a callback to 70s blaxploitation. I mean, that is crazy diverse here in the year of 2000. In the year 2001. That'll be the last time, I swear. So we have 4 films trying to get into the next round of the Hateful Eight, and our lineups and our verses here is going to be Jason X going up against Frailty, and the Brotherhood of the Wolf going up against Bones. I want to start with Jason X and Frailty, the first lineup here. So, Dustin, which film shall we talk first?
Let's go and talk Jason X, because I have seen that one before.
Now, and that's what I'm curious, because you and Genius, for any of our first-time viewers out there, you all have an extended friendship and extended time together. And
a couple of months.
Yeah, a few months.
I think they measure that in trimesters now, don't they?
Right? What's your name, Justin? Okay.
Yes.
Right on.
So I was anxious to see how many of these films you actually did experience in the theater with one Genius McGee. And that being said, what was your original theatrical experience like?
With Jason X, I remember going in to see it, and it was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a Friday the 13th film. I will say, sorry, I have to put this out as a disclaimer. I am not the biggest fan of a lot of horror franchises. There are some that I really enjoy, like the Victor Crowleys.
Society.
But and I mean, I appreciate everything that we've seen. Like even Society. The movies that might be uncomfortable to watch. Shivers is another one. You might not understand it. You might not get the depths. I mean, I'm not a horror historian. I'm not on you guys' level when it comes to like being able to break down, those kind of things. But with Jason X, I remember thinking, okay, it's another Jason film. Cool. Let's go ahead and just kind of check out for a couple hours and watch it. It's got the canon runtime, so I'm automatically in. I think it's an hour and a half, and then the whole precursor was it was like Super Jason in space.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, just check mark 3 boxes, and I think we saw it at Indian Springs.
Yeah, I think so.
It might have been. Yeah, it would have been West Glen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So question number 1 answered. You did see it together in the theater, of course. Now. And it was one Genius McGee that probably did bring you in.
Yes.
Because this is one you would
fucking see
have
Jason X, dude.
normally not gone and seen.
Well, and I can tell you with our friendship that, between the 3 of us, I can tell you that I did like a lot of horror films growing up, like the original Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Friday the 13th, the original Halloween. But when you start getting in like the deeper cuts, like Genius said, Society, Shivers, The Beyond, The Gate, those kind of movies, I didn't necessarily gravitate toward those because those came out at the same time when Schwarzenegger and Stallone and JCVD were big. So I was like more pew pew pew.
Yeah. Well, fuck,
rather than
exactly. Just the other day, I was like, man, I'm in the mood for action. What should I watch? Just like you're the one to go to when it comes to what I like in action. So,
right. Yeah. We have our wheelhouses, and I mean, I completely will own up to that. I mean, I'm not going to be able to wax poetic about all the horror films that you guys can, and kind of vice versa. There's probably a lot of really crappy action films that I've seen that you probably haven't seen. So,
right.
That's fair. But it's that perspective I like that you can bring, and especially with this particular film because it is very action oriented, even in the space setting.
Yeah,
and it takes elements of Aliens, obviously, but it does it in a very loving way, and that's the one thing. Go back to our commentary way back that we did last year of Jason X, and if you took a drink every time we probably said fun.
Yeah,
you'd be schlocked by the time Cronenberg shows up because the movie is legitimately fun and it does not take itself seriously, which is good because there's technically two films. No, you know what? Technically, this is the one I think that does not take itself seriously.
Yeah,
the tongue is firmly in its cheek, but it's in a very loving manner.
Because even in part 6, they wanted to scare too, and they wanted to set it up where it's more of a mystery. In this one, this is just, hey, it's Jason in space. Let's have some fucking fun.
Well, and they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
There's some films that go over all of the genres that they want to try to do something, but they don't quite hit it. In this film, they wanted to be fun. They weren't going for the Friday the 13th Part 2. They weren't going for the menacing Jason. They were going for a fun Jason, and that's exactly what it was because it even played to some of the previous kills that he had in some of the other movies. And I know we'll talk about that, but it knew it was going to be fun. It was going out to be fun. It was just another entry in the franchise, and they wanted to do something tonally different than all of the other films that they did.
Well, fuck, when like the line you mentioned, when it's like, we love smoking pot and having premarital sex. Boonk, 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 boonk.
And, honestly, this is the first time, the rewatch, rather, that I've seen it since the theater. And I completely forgot about the sleeping bag. And I laughed my ass off when he beats the one girl to death with the other girl in the sleeping bag. I'm just like, that's brilliant because it's like, that was my favorite kill from like the original first 6 movies. And I'm like, you gave that part to me. I like it.
Yeah. And then the liquid carbonite.
Oh, dude, that was brutal.
Yeah.
I'd like to think it has something for the casual Friday fan and the hardcore fans alike. But do you think because it is set in space, that's the reason why a lot of people are off-put by it? Because if you go out on the internet, which you should never do,
right.
That's totally a wasteland out there, but there's a lot of hate of this film.
We've had conversations before, and I know you guys want to talk always about being, a podcast of positivity. I don't like the fact that people shit on films just because they don't like them. Because my favorite film might not be somebody else's favorite film. This movie went out to be fun. I'm not going to say, oh, man, fuck Jason X, this is stupid. I'm not going to go out there and try to wax poetic because I'm not one of these. I'm not a film critic. I write about what I like. I talk about what I like, so it's never going to be one of those things where, oh, I really think Jason should have breathed a little bit less in this movie. And it's like, go F yourself,
Yeah.
No, it's totally fair. It's totally fair. It's just one of those things that, on the flip side, out on the internet, it also is, I'm seeing it's gaining a wave of people coming back to it.
Yes.
And going, hey, you know what? It is fun. Because if you look at that point in the Friday series, I mean,
what else can they fucking do? I mean, he's already gone to hell. He's already been worms. He's already been different people.
Hell, he went to the Big Apple,
right? Well, he went to like a Big Apple slice.
Well,
I see what you did there.
I think we mentioned it last episode, but in the title or in theory, it's in space, and right from the get-go, it's in space. We don't go to hell till the very end. We don't go to Manhattan till the very end. So it's at least up front, it's saying,
right,
we're going to give you what you want.
Yeah. This is what you want?
This is what you get.
Space chase.
Do the Jason.
Now, would it be through a more metallic, though, since he's... So So I guess the question is, I didn't watch it with the subtitles, so I don't know if he
If
did
he laughed
laugh.
or not. Well, he is Uber Jason. I mean, it's just it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but it's one of those movies that you can just throw on in the background, or if you are a hardcore Jason fan or a Jason X fan from back of the day like me, you know, it's one of those movies that, okay, you know what you're, like you said, you know what you're getting into, Jason in space. I mean, if you're not at least intrigued by that title, by that description alone, this movie might not be for you, you know?
Now, that being said, since you are more of an actioneer, what would you point us in a direction of a space-based actioneer that would be on par potentially with a Jason X?
Aliens. Yeah, Aliens. Like the entirety of the gun pieces that they use against Jason is just it's Vasquez. I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
I was waiting for someone to say "Let's rock."
Yeah.
Quick question. Space Jason versus Scott Adkins.
Ooh. Are we talking Boyka Scott Adkins or Avengement Scott Adkins?
Ooh, Boyka.
Boyka. Hands down. Like 6:30.
That's fair. That's fair.
Nothing against Jason, but he stands no chance. Boo.
Earns.
I was saying boo earns. I was enjoying that. All right.
I actually enjoyed that as well because I was just imagining like Boyka would literally walk across Crystal Lake to get to Jason.
Man, I'm going to kick this motherfucker out into space.
And see, that's the thing. That's the thing. It wouldn't be like in Manhattan when he's like, okay, I'm tired. Take your best shot. Nah. Boyka doesn't get tired.
No, absolutely not.
No, Boyka could probably rip Jason in half.
But given the fact that instead of a Boyka, we get a pretty badass android, stepping in.
Lisa fucking Ryder for an Andromeda.
And as we were mentioning off mic, you were like, well, why is everyone everyone's in the
Resident Evil bondage gear.
But I mean, but that was the style at the time.
Right.
Yeah, the robot had an onion tied to the belt.
But that's what you did. I mean, you could see how the influence was felt, the aesthetics still carried over.
The post-Matrix world.
Yes, yeah. And even in your horror film, you're still going to get those effects, which still made it part of its time, because this film does feel very late 90s, early aughts.
Andromeda.
Yeah.
Andromeda.
That whole slate of evening programming, we will not touch that. No, final thoughts on Jason X here, there, one Dustin.
I liked it. I think this is going to be one of those ones I don't necessarily watch all the time, but I'm not going to miss it when it just kind of randomly pops up.
Yeah.
That is fair. That is fair. Now, one that you did see in the theater to one that we found out was a first-time viewing, the Bill Paxton directed Frailty. Were you familiar with this one?
I was familiar with the title alone. I knew that the movie existed, but it was one of those ones I never actually got around to watching. And I kind of feel bad about it now because I really like the movie.
Yeah. Well, what'd you think?
I liked it a lot, and I thought McConaughey played kind of like the subtle deranged really well. Anytime you put Powers Booth in a movie, I'm going to watch it because I love Powers Booth.
So, did you know that he was in that in advance?
No, I didn't notice until he walked in.
What did you know about the movie aside from the name?
That's it.
That's it.
That's all I knew about. I didn't. And this is one of the things that I've always tried to do. Because I've been on Into the Mouth of March Madness before. If I've not seen a movie, I don't go out and look for the trailers. I don't go out and look at reviews. I don't try to do that if I've not seen it.
Yeah.
Because I want to try to come into these as fresh as I possibly can, because I don't want to be, because a lot of these movies are 20, 30, years old. I don't want to be jaded by somebody else's dissertation on why Frailty's not a good movie or why it's the best movie ever.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I didn't look at anything other than just seeing, okay, it's Bill Paxton and Matthew McConaughey. And I started thinking about it. I was like, Into the Mouth of March Madness, why are we watching like a horror film with Matthew McConaughey in the first place? I mean, that's really what I thought. And then when he comes on screen, he kind of plays like the real demure, like we think he's the brother, but he's really not the brother.
Right.
And he goes after, of course, spoilers.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course,
spoiler
of
away.
course.
Yeah.
But then he goes after, he kind of does this whole setup of Powers Booth, being ultimately a bad guy. And he kind of leads him on talking about, oh, well, that's your mom kind of deal. And it kind of rubs Powers Booth the wrong way. And then you get the Bill Paxton, backstory, as the dad that's touched by the angel and, all the other stuff. And it's like, I really enjoyed the kind of like I hate time jumps, but the way that they did them in the film where they kind of went present day, talking to Powers Booth, and then they went back and kind of gave you the backstory of the brothers and the dad and why they did what they did. I really enjoyed the way they did it.
Yeah. The Powers Booth and McConaughey almost played like a horror Usual Suspects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very much. And then, so question, did the motive behind what was going on, did it give you like, I mean, would you qualify this as horror? Did it give you enough creeps? And
Definitely,
chill
because
factors?
it's like supernatural horror. You know, it's not one of those things where it's like just slashers, but I mean, you've got a lot of people, and what makes, in my mind, what makes this a horror film is that you can literally see this in society because you have people that believe they've been, spoken to by a higher being, and you can see like some of the, the Zodiac killer and some of the different people that claim that they've had like these, I guess, like otherworldly beings tell them to do these things.
Brushes with God.
Right. You can see this in real life, so it's kind of like, just playing out what real life would be at on the silver screen.
Yeah.
So
That's fair.
What'd you think about the twist or the ending where it's possibly they're correct?
I thought that was really slick. Because I always thought when I watched the first part and, they get to the part where Powers Booth kind of has the portion where they're in like the laundry and they show Powers Booth actually murdering his mom. That part I was like, okay, I could kind of see where that was going. But then when like he shakes his hand at the end of the film and he goes, "You're a good man," where he talks to the other FBI agent, he goes, "You're a good man." I'm like, I like that aspect of it because all along he was truthful to his character. He wasn't doing it because he was delusional. He had this otherworldly power.
Yeah. So one more thing, what did you think about the direction of Bill Paxton? This is because it's his directorial debut.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. And we've talked about this with different actors trying to jump into the director's seat. They try to direct themselves too much. I think he played deranged really good and like unhinged.
Well, and it's the great connective tissue technically between these films is the reference and the homages to Aliens, which features one Bill Paxton in a very memorable role. And like I said last week, it made me miss Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
Bill Paxton, the actor, what we could have had with Bill Paxton, the director.
Yeah, because as a debut, it was great.
Well, and I legitimately love that he went the horror route.
Yeah.
And he went in a very ambiguous way. And I think that's the reason we're still talking about it and the reason why it was probably a nice surprise for you.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining being with you at that time, just like when Powers Booth shows up and just like, doesn't, all right. Kind of perk up a little. It's like, oh, there's Powers Booth.
So I know you too well. Did you sing along when it was like, I got that joy?
I did. I totally had the Rod and Todd
Pavlovian.
Flanders. Yeah. It was like, I got that joy down in my heart. Where? I cracked up when I did that. And then when he was like, no, just sing along. And I'm like,
And if the devil doesn't like it, he can sit on attack.
ouch.
I knew you would because I did the same fucking thing.
Well, I immediately started laughing right when they started singing it. I was just like, because I pictured
You're
that
right.
Simpsons episode. It was just like, oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's the same thing. That like cemented my love for this movie. Once that happened, I was like, I am in for this movie, whatever it does.
In for a penny, in for a pound. Gonna do it.
Exactly.
Ouch. Well, I even remember back in the day when there was build up to the film, a lot of the social media things. And again, this is 2001, so technically I was still perusing like ain'titcool.com and
E-Bombs World.
Chud.com. We had JoeBlow.com. Those were the main movie sites at the time. But I even remember some of the on-set stuff because it was shot in Austin in that area. So, of course, Ain't It Cool was there. But I remember the on-set photos of, like, Otis, the axe. And I was like, okay, that's very distinctive and, different. It's like I already like what we're seeing here. So, that being said, going from something as just fantastical as Jason X to something as grounded in kind of reality.
Because, I mean, we've seen shit like that, where like religious zealots and people, what they believe, do terrible shit. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen Uber Jason, but yet.
When I was watching that movie for the first time, what it reminded me of is if you take the Brad Pitt character out of Seven and you just have Morgan Freeman with Kevin Spacey. Like that would be the McConaughey Powers Booth like dynamic.
Yeah, it was a really good dynamic that they had.
No, the chemistry was there. Everything worked. And for someone that's a first-time director, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it was your a good first time viewing.
Dude, I appreciated the movie all the way through.
Well, obviously, we loved both of these films, but only one can advance into the round of the Hateful Eight. And we have 2 bits of criteria that we are going to examine here to, again, show our work. But you know what? We have a criteria that is just so nice that we do it twice. We're going to ask which of the 2 films is closer to your heart.
Closer to the heart.
That was really good.
That was really good.
That was really good.
You stuck the landing.
Geddy Lee would be proud, my friend.
Right on.
So I'm going to throw it to our guest here. Dustin, which of the 2, Jason X or Frailty, is closer to your heart?
Honestly, Frailty. And I realize that sounds kind of weird saying that, just being the first time viewing. But I love Powers Booth, and I love Bill Paxton. So, I mean, just like Greg said, it made me miss Bill Paxton and what we could have seen from him, because I saw some stuff that he did after Frailty. Some of the made for HBO movies and stuff that he did. And it just, all those things, even watching Near Dark, it just makes me appreciate him as like a genuine actor, like one of those guys that can play goofy, can play kind of like the sidekick, can play like the serious guy, and can play unhinged. I think we would have gotten a lot more out of him for a longer period of time.
No, totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. Genius.
Frailty is amazing. I saw it in the theater. I loved it ever since like the Rod and Todd Flanders. That sealed the deal. But god damn it, I love Jason X. Jason X just hit me at the time. It had all the people that I liked from my Andromeda program. It had Cronenberg. It had Uber Jason. It delivered. It's one of those ones that no matter where I'll see it at, whether it be the Grenasty or walking on channel surfing, if it's on, I'll fucking watch it. I think it's one of those versatile movies. And so I'm going to go for closer to the heart. I got to go Jason X. Got to go with my boy Jason.
Excellent work. And here's my conundrum is I did see both of these in the theater. This was technically my first Friday film, so that a lot of nostalgia there. But, after the Friday film, I didn't have an anxiety and panic attack when I thought I lost my cousin potentially to a serial killer when she was merely just standing outside. And that will forever haunt my experience. So for that, you can't lose that to nostalgia. So Frailty gets my vote there. But from the heart to the head, if you were to remove one of these films, which one would leave the year of 2001 poorer? Dustin, we're going to go ahead and start with you.
If you remove Frailty, easily makes 2001 lesser. I mean, and that's not to take away. I kind of see Genius cringing. It's either that or he's having a heart attack, one of the two.
Right?
But
No.
No. I think it's one of those things where I've seen enough Jasons, and so they had to take him to space to make it somewhat fresh, right? But Frailty, you can never really go wrong with like a psychological thriller. You can never really, because you can take that so many different places. There's only so many places you can take a hockey mask wearing killer.
Right.
That's just me. So
yeah. No.
I would say Frailty.
Here's where I'm stuck at.
Mm-hmm.
If you take away Jason X, eventually he's going to go into space. You know what
he
I'm
has
saying?
nowhere else to go.
Right. Eventually he's going to go into space. And even if he doesn't.
An officer and a Voorhees. Sorry. That's a
no, but eventually he would go to space. But at the same time, Frailty is one of those movies where a lot of people still haven't seen, even like some of the hardcore horror fans.
Right.
If you're like, man, have you seen Frailty? I don't know what you're talking about. Not even I've seen that.
Yeah.
So it's like it's already gone. So that's where I'm trying to figure out which one would leave it poorer. I think because you would eventually get a Jason X, taking Frailty out would truly leave something special. So my vote is for Frailty.
It's tough, especially based on your premise. I really like that. That's really looking deep into this. And for me, it's not necessarily simple, but it's kind of along the signs of what you both said is we've got a lot of Fridays. We've gone all over with them. With this kind of a franchise, they will reach space eventually. But you only get one Bill Paxton directorial debut that is a horror film. That's a deep cut horror film, and it's a horror film that hopefully more people will discover. Mm-hmm. And because of that, if you remove that, we're missing a lot. And oh my goodness, by a count of 5-1, Frailty has laid its hands upon Jason, seen the misdeeds done in space.
And there's a lot of misdeeds done in space. I mean, I'm sure Otis had a hard time, but a good chunk was taken out.
And making its way into the round of the Hateful Eight is Bill Paxton's Frailty.
Much deserved, I might say.
I really,
that was a good fight.
I think so as well. Well, you know what? Friday the 13th has always been very well represented in the mouth of March Madness. In fact, of course, technically, when did Friday the original did win last year? So that's
true.
The franchise is out this one, but it leads up to our next matchup, and this is the one I'm really looking forward to because if there was one film we have ever programmed for Into the Mouth of March Madness,
specifically for one person,
I don't think we could do any better with either or of the films we're going to be talking about in our next matchup. We have the Brotherhood of the Wolf going up against Bones. Which of these two shall we go into first there, Dustin?
Let's go and talk about Bones first.
Jim Bones, that you mine?
Okay. Listen to the banter. Is this one that you saw in the theater?
Oh yeah. I mean, 2001.
With me.
Come on, it's Snoop.
With me.
Snoop-a-loop,
bring your green hat.
I had to ask inquiring minds. We don't like to assume here on the show. So that being said, how long has it been since you've seen it then?
Oh, quote it or seen it? I mean, because Genius and I quote this thing probably once or twice a week.
Around who's behind you, mine.
No, probably seen it probably 5-6 years maybe.
Okay,
so it's been a while. Yeah.
And this was I saw it last year in the theater for the first time, but I've become really accustomed to it because I did pick up the Blu-ray that Scream Factory put out, which is wonderful and phenomenal. But my biggest kind of takeaway is, does it, hold up, this many years later? And then why didn't it have an audience? Because obviously you all saw it in the theater.
Jimmy Bones was the shit.
And this is another one. I don't know if it's on par with Frailty, just in terms of a horror film that a lot of people aren't familiar with. But this is another one that a lot of people aren't familiar with. Why do you think it went under the radar?
Honestly, I think it polarized a lot of people because at the time Snoop was, I think he was under No Limit at that point, right? So I mean,
I think so.
He wasn't he wasn't at the chronic the chronic Dr. Dre Snoop Dogg that everybody remembers. So everybody was like, oh, he's just trying to cash in on a movie, So I think some people will gravitate away from it just because it's Snoop. Some people will gravitate toward it because it is Snoop. But I think it was far enough away from his very peak of popularity that some people just saw it as a cash grab, and that's unfortunate.
That is, because if you look at the pedigree of the film, directed by Ernest Dickerson, who Surviving the Game.
Oh yeah,
that's an all-timer, and even Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight.
But I like the fact that Snoop went into genre.
Oh yeah,
because you can tell he loves horror.
Yeah.
I mean, his next movie after that was Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror, which is a kind of a cool anthology, and I genuinely enjoyed that one. So he's all about doing that kind of shit. But the fact of the matter is, you put the money and the talent and all that, and you put a really cool villain out there with a really interesting story, but yet nobody, even to this day, I'm sure there's people who would be like, hey, you've heard of Bones? Is that Snoop Dogg one? Have you seen it? No, but I've heard of it.
It's a classic. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows, that's that horror film with Snoop Dogg.
I think maybe people think because there's not a good track record of musicians turned actors,
right?
This is another one of those.
Well, but the best thing is he is truly like a titular character where he is only in maybe 5 minutes of the film in total. So you don't necessarily need him to act. You just need him to have his presence. It's Snoop Dogg. Of course he's got a presence.
But then again, a killer ghost pimp is usually
good-natured killer ghost pimp,
right? Isn't normally the biggest draw around there is, because it's kind of because even with movies like Sleepaway Camp or Candyman and even The Grudge, you really don't know what it is until you actually see it. But with Bones, it's Snoop Dogg as a killer ghost pimp. So
yeah, but unlike The Ring and all the other movies that you mentioned, they don't live in fucking Castle Grayskull like he did.
That's true. That hotel was the fucking unhappiness hotel, and the fact that they're gonna hey gang, let's put on a show, man. That there was an actual portal to hell. That was a cool fucking place.
Yeah.
potentially then, is that would have
I'd
happened
go club in there.
if like Electric 2,
Snoopaloop.
yeah,
Electric
breaking Electric 2,
Snoopaloop.
you were breaking on a portal to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Is this like the dark side of old school? You know.
Well, the thing that I love about the movie is that the story holds up really well. There is actually some good, like, societal messages going on in the film. And you've got some crazy effects work by Tony Gardner. And that's the thing that always has stood out to me is the level of the bodies and the gore to this day. That is just one of those things that sticks with me, which is appropriate given the visceral nature of everything. Pam Grier.
Oh,
exactly.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Which sadly and unfortunately, the reason and we could have possibly had, imagine if we would have had Ghost of Mars going up against Bones.
Right. Pam Grier double feature.
A Pam Grier going up against, so my apologies there. And
That's
also,
right. You could have Jason Statham, but you didn't want him.
See, this
Because he had hair. It was weird.
I would never say anything was ever fixed. But if there was ever a reason to make sure Ghost of Mars didn't advance was to make sure we didn't have dueling Stathams.
Ghost of Mars, a.k.a. hashtag Stop the Steal.
Right. I'm just glad Ian McShane wasn't in one of those movies either.
Oh, hell.
We fucked.
You'd have some Ricola drops you'd need
I
to
know.
Especially if it came out in the year 2000.
In the year 2000. And one.
My Lord, how does this is madness. Let's go back to the Unhappiness Hotel. Did you recognize by any chance Catherine Isabel from any of the other horror films we may have subjected you to?
No, not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Do you think he would dig Ginger Snaps at all?
Yeah, I think he'd dig American Mary.
And then also, have you ever seen Freddy vs. Jason?
Oh, yeah.
Technically, she was rocking the red hat a la oh my goodness, PJ Souls from Carrie.
No offense, I only saw Freddy vs. Jason once.
Okay.
I don't blame you.
That was in the theater, and I was just like...
I don't blame you.
With him?
Yeah.
Of course.
I don't blame you.
It hurt my heart a little
Yeah,
bit.
it did. Anyway.
It's fair. That is fair. No, you know what didn't hurt my heart here is Bones. Now, final thoughts on Bones before we head on over into a historical drama?
Again, this was a fun movie.
Yeah, and the special effects were pretty damn special. The reanimation of Bones was kick-ass.
Yeah, it was. It was very Hellraiserian.
Oh, it totally gave me that vibe.
It's like, that definitely shows the love of horror, because, like, hey, let's put a little bit of Hellraiser. Let's put a little bit of Nightmare on Elm Street on there. Let's put a little bit of this. Let's put a little bit of that.
The Jimmy Bones under the stairs.
Right? And let's make it an homage to the Killer Pimp movies of the 70s, like JD's Revenge or Cherry Street, so.
Well, I like the fact that Ernest Dickerson, very much like a Neil Marshall, will take a bunch of elements and just make a really cool mixtape. The way that he did with, like, Doomsday.
But why don't we have Malcolm McDowell?
Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
Jimmy Bones, is that you mine?
Sorry, called you Snoop Dogg. Turn around behind you. What a Snoop believes. That's some fan fiction that needs to be written right there.
He's pulling his Michael McDonald's head, but it's in like the sailor hat. There's a little captain's hat. I don't want to go to the wall of hell. Giacomo Bones.
We've gone way off course. So off course. What is it with the Unhappiness Hotel? You just keep leaving and we're going elsewhere. You know what? It is time to check out.
Right.
From Bones into the Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Because you said you're surprised Michael McDonald was Michael
I don't know why I said
Michael Myers is fucking dead. But
it's kind of like my Jonathan Winters, Jonathan Price.
Right?
Oh my
Anywho.
goodness. Oh my, yeah. That's
My apologies, Greg.
No,
my apologies for my misspeak.
Oh,
That sent us down the rabbit hole.
the pause is there, me giggling.
I would
so,
love to see Michael McDonald and Michael McDowell. That's funny. Totes my goats. Okay, yeah, I'm done. How about some eggs, my drogs?
I think we broke Greg.
The problem is I'm trying to reel it in, but at the same time, I think he's reading it as just keep it going, keep it going.
Well, there's more ideas. I could just see Michael McDonald as like a drogue outfit in Clockwork Orange, but instead of like the black derby, it's the captain's hat, Fucking, he's pushed down on the chair with his eyes open, having to watch like yacht rock videos.
Yacht rock.
Jimmy Bones. Okay, we're done. So on the head of the heart. Let's talk about Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Wow, we got to really reel you in here, my friend.
Okay. Yeah.
Thankfully, there was a period appropriate music throughout Brotherhood of the Wolf, so I don't know if we'll veer into that territory potentially, but you said you saw Bones in the theater. By any chance, what was your relationship with Brotherhood of the Wolf?
It was, we saw it at one of the smallest theaters, didn't we? I remember seeing it in the theater, but I can't remember who it was with.
Was it the Tivoli?
It had to have been, or the Glenwood. One of the two. I can't remember which one it was, but it wasn't not like AMC, Cinemark, or any of those.
I did see it in the Tivoli, so it was. I know it played there. So ideally, that may have been where you experienced it.
Who knows, man? We could have been in the same theater. We just didn't know each other then. Not the 42nd Street Theater. What the hell's wrong with you?
We did not pass through a beaded curtain. However,
it is a Monica Bellucci jam, so
there were a few scenes that definitely would have made people feel potentially uncomfortable. But is this one that is in your regular rotation at all?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
because it's part martial arts, part horror film. You know,
and this was the movie that technically is the one that was the genesis of going, well, you know what? With this movie being in this year's.
Just for the odd chance if it does go on, we need to have Mount Baldy up in here.
Because this features an actor that I had kind of a recent renaissance with the John Wick universe. One Mark Dacascos as Monty, who is just awesome.
He's fucking steals the show.
Oh, and can we talk about like the Pantene Pro V like hair commercial that he's got all the way through this film? There's one part where he like gets ready to throw the hatchet and he like flips his hair back and it looks like a Fabio moment. It's ridiculous.
And it's in slow motion, so it's fucking rad.
Now here's the question. If you could have a hair off between him and the guy from Creepshow 2, who would win?
Well, in a hair off, it'd be Creepshow 2 because Mark Dacascos' hair never got him paid and laid.
That's fair. That's fair. No, the inclusion of him in this movie and the fact that we are getting some high-level martial arts, some high-level violence, some high-level gore.
In a creature feature.
And a creature feature. Also in a fairly accurate period
creature feature.
It is so many things in one that I had not watched it since that theatrical experience, and it was such a pleasant rewatch because all of those things I didn't remember at the time.
Yeah.
I think even when we watched it, we were just like, oh man, I don't remember this. It's like, I cannot believe this is happening. Why haven't I watched this since all the way back in 2001?
And it's fucking beautiful. Like, just in scope.
Yeah, the French countryside and all the shots.
And even the action scenes, like when they're fighting in the mud and the rain, and he's showing off his sweet bow staff skills. Like, God, right? He's over there just beating the shit out of everybody and blood everywhere, and it's still gorgeous. The night shots when the beast is coming out is terrifying and beautiful. It's a fucking wonderful movie.
So here's a question for you, Dustin. What kind of a film would you pair with Brotherhood of the Wolf?
Oh, Jesus, that's maybe The Relic? Maybe?
Oh,
with Tom Sizemore and Penelope Moore?
Yeah.
That's a good movie. That's a good choice.
And the only reason why I thought about that is because when I watched Brotherhood of the Wolf the first time, it's like that beast. And okay, so I'm sorry, kind of go off on a tangent here, but can we really appreciate this movie for the fact that they don't even reveal the monster until almost 3/4 of the way through the film?
They never even fucking reveal the monster.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. Like,
right.
Like at the beginning of the movie, you see the woman getting like bashed against the rock by the unseen monster.
Right.
But you don't actually get to see it until like Lamb Chop's Slay Along when you see the little lamb down in the mud pit, right?
Right.
You don't actually see the monster until then.
So, that's very the Jaws approach.
Yeah.
And then even then, you still don't. After you see like, okay, what is it? It's still never. It's just a beast.
Right.
I forgot it is technically an armored beast that was taken from its native land.
Which is fucking rad in itself,
it was fucking
dude.
Battle Cat.
Yeah, it was. It was fucking Battle Cat, and it was slick because he had the retractable metal claws and the teeth that fucking moved. That was a fuck.
I sure do like them teefuses.
It was a badass monster. Very cool creature design, even though we didn't get a lot of good looks at it.
Well, and you had to technically try to mix up the practical and the CG.
Right.
And given that this is 20 years ago, the CG I didn't think for the most part was bad, but I did recently watch Jurassic Park, and it's incredible to see how that CGI has aged. Now, obviously, of course, budget, limitations, what have you, but it's kind of incredible that I don't think we've really reached that point in CGI, even to this day, that we did back in '94, which is bizarre. Sorry, that's not even
No.
It's just, I thought it was handled well in this, but I did appreciate the practical more when they were able to do that versus what we got with the digital.
And I want a tri-pointed hat.
Now, yeah.
Fuck
they
yeah,
are.
I want
You just want to look like Captain Crunch.
Fuck yeah, dude. If I was dressed up like fucking Samuel Adams walking around, I'm like, dude, it'd be the shit.
I want to be dressed up like Samuel Jackson.
Right? Bitch! It'll get you drunk! But no. Everything about this was really pretty. I mean, everything.
And I totally forgot about the big epic sword fight at the end. And just the inclusion of that just added to kind of the insanity and just, we're going to add this genre in here as well.
And gory, because there was even procedural aspects of it when they're doing like autopsies and shit.
Well, there were a couple shots that you were talking about, like just like the pretty factor of the film. There's one shot in particular where all they do is they focus in on a puddle during the rain. And it's like one of the best shots of the film. You just see like the ripples from the puddle. And then don't even get me started on the angel swan dive underneath the spiked log when they fight the beast.
That was slick. That was fucking slick.
That is some shit I still have yet to see in another action movie now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
No, it's speaking of pairings, I think I would pair it with Doomsday.
Yeah.
Because it's one
works.
of those movies that it kind of like Bones, how we were talking about, just throws all kinds of shit at it and mixes it up, and it works.
It totally works. And
It just works.
And this is another one that you could, like, because it was at the Tivoli, you guarantee you had some people. They go regardless because of the programming.
High cinema.
And I will say that is why I always did love the Tivoli, because you could see, I saw Dead Alive there back in the day, saw Blair Witch back in the day, saw Dogma back in the day, just some fantastic screenings.
This is a martial arts creature feature disguised as a fancy
as a
period
period
piece.
piece. Yep.
You know, because at its essence, it's a fucking... Two bounty hunters are going after a monster. They're monster hunters, basically.
Yep.
And it's just in the French countryside with all sorts of wonderful things.
And if you guys want to actually go back into your guys' back catalog with Media Rewind, if that kind of a premise appeals to you or just anything, you guys actually covered the Into the Badlands series. So just those that
I could see the beast in the Badlands.
I could do.
Yeah, just a big metal beast.
Yeah, his name's Sherman Augustus. He had a metal hand.
He looks like a quiet armadillo to me, so I think the Baron will claim him.
Well, obviously we enjoyed both of these films, but only one can make its way into the next round. So, Dustin, which of these two films, Brotherhood of the Wolf or Bones, is closer to your heart?
Closer to my heart would be Brotherhood of the Wolf, just because I'm more of a kung fu martial art action kind of guy. I like those movies. That's just more in my wheelhouse.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. Genius.
Jim Bones, that you, man? Bones. I fucking love Bones. I love Snoop. Snoop-a-loop. I dig this movie a lot. And the fact that I quote it regularly, it's closer to my heart. I love Brotherhood of the Wolf. I fucking dig it immensely, but
Yeah, I was going to say,
go Bones.
You don't quote it constantly. And
No.
I'm just trying to think of some of the lines in Brotherhood of the Wolf that you could incorporate into your everyday vernacular.
Ooh la la.
Yeah, it's just not going to work.
The beast is metal.
So this one was definitely tough for me. In fact, this is the one I really had nothing prepared for because I did see them both in the theater the first time, but Bones was a repertory screening back on a Terror Tuesday. But man, there was something... I even just talked about the Tivoli and all the movies that I did see there that were horror, that were genre, that were classy. there is a bit of nostalgia for that, and I'm glad they still exist. Hopefully, as this goes in March, I know they're existing right now at the the Nelson Museum. So you can still potentially see some excellent genre fare. But yeah, no, for nostalgia, I'm going to definitely go with Brotherhood of the Wolf. Now, again, from the heart to the head, if you were to remove one of these films from the year of 2001, which one would leave the year poorer? Dustin, let us start with you.
My year. Okay, this is just mine personally. This is not like cinema overall. I think if you remove Bones from 2001 for me, it would make it a lesser year. Because honestly, Bones is when Snoop turned from being just a gangster rapper to actually being a personality to me. So I love Pam Grier. Almost everything that she's done has been an absolute bullseye for me. I think she's a phenomenal actress. Her power when she's on screen is just incredible, whether or not it being a Ghost of Mars or a Jackie Brown, so you just have that type of like gravity to that character. So for me, it's Bones.
Excellent work, my friend. Genius.
This is again kind of a hard one because both of these movies are seldom seen.
Very true.
I think like if you even again going back to the argument we did about earlier. Hey, have you seen Bones? I've seen that. Have you seen Brotherhood of the Wolf? I've seen that. But who like 8 out of 10 dentists agree. 4 out of 5 horror fans will probably have not seen one of these movies. But so which one would we leave poorer? I think Brotherhood of the Wolf, if we lost that, we would lose something just so unheard of, unseen. As much as I love Bones, there are other supernatural slashers out there, but there's not a lot of kung fu period horror procedural with creature features out there. And so I think for that reason, my vote is Brotherhood of the Wolf.
This is tough for me as well. Listen, there are a lot of werewolf films out there. There are a lot of unique werewolf films. There's Wolf Cop. That's a very...
Don't make me fall. It's icy outside.
Be careful, yeah. You've got a number of werewolf films that address a number of issues. The Howling is a wonderful metaphor for sexuality. You don't have a lot of black horror. There's a really great documentary on Shudder, Horror Noir, talks about the black experience in horror films. And I think with a director like Ernest Dickerson, who has a really... By any chance, do you guys see Juice back in the day?
Juice!
Hell yeah.
Fucking yeah, Juice is the shit.
That's Ernest Dickerson, and he has touched a number of different genres, and he does it so well. And as unique as Brotherhood of the Wolf is, it exists in a very well-established genre. But with Bones, man, it's the reason why it probably didn't do as well, just because it doesn't have a really established foundation. So I do think if you take away Bones, you're taking away a film, again, that no one's seen, and they need to because it is so entertaining. And here's what's rough, gentlemen. We have a tie.
Oh, shit.
Bum, bum, bum.
Now, in the case of a tie... We have been going to the cover of a very familiar magazine.
On the cover of the old thing, gonna buy one copy for my mother. Gonna watch some movies on Shudder. Gonna see my gruesome face on the cover of the old Fango.
And here's the issue.
Oh, shit.
Quite literally.
On the inside of the old Fango.
Neither of them are featured on the main issues, the main, splash cover. But both of them had articles on the side.
Son of a bitch.
On the index of the old Fango.
So I'm going to throw it out there. What should we do in lieu of the tiebreaker of the tiebreaker?
Well, last time we had a tiebreaker, we went to music.
Okay, let's look. Oh, my goodness. Well, that's...
Snoop.
Bones.
Snoop. As much as I love, the sweeping scores and shit, dude, Snoop. Fucking Snoop.
Well, Snoop-a-Loop, whatever it is, has advanced his way into the round of the Hateful Eight. And in that round, oh, my goodness, we have Frailty...
versus Bones.
versus Bones.
Two opposite ends. At least in Frailty and Brotherhood of the Wolf, like, okay, dramatic horror, but like, no. But it's I got that joy down in my heart, bitch. Down in my heart, bitch. Down in my heart.
That's so That's so horrible. That's so horrible. Well, regardless, we could have not advanced into this next round and gotten through this without the help of one Dustin Pryor. As always, thank you so much.
I appreciate the talk, man. You
This
talk
was-
about just a litany of my favorite movies.
And Michael McDonald.
Why don't you turn around and see who's behind you, Mong?
It's me. Can't you see?
If we don't hear Michael McDonald in the next season of Media Rewind and The Walking Dead somehow, it's
Right
not,
answer. Hillbilly justice.
So make sure to tune in with that. And of course, our next round, now we have the guests lined up but not recorded, so I don't want to jinx it, but let's just say we'll potentially be going overseas and a particular person. So until that time, we are not... Oh, wait, hold on. Literally, we'll be back here in just a minute.
Yeah, we'll be back.
I've got the joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart. I've got the joy down in my heart. Where? Down in my heart to stay.
All right, gang, we are back. And as we go from the round of the Scream 16 into the round of the Hateful Eight, let us again thank Dustin Pryor from the Media Rewind podcast.
Fuck him.
And let us say goodbye, farewell, and adieu to both the Brotherhood of the Wolf and Jason X.
Aw,
Well, I guess in space no one can hear you howl.
no one can hear you.
Well, genius, what a difference a year makes.
Yes, especially when that year's 2020.
You're not kidding, because this time last year, not only were we in the middle of Into the Mouth of March Madness, but we were basically still recovering from the Panic Film Festival.
Mm-hmm. Oh, recovering is the proper word.
I think very proper. Now, it's weird, though, is right now we're not recovering. In fact, technically, we're preparing.
We're getting ready for more panic.
Absolutely. So things have changed a little bit. So the Panic Film Fest is coming back starting on April 8th. And of course, you can get all the information at panicfilmfest.com. But the reason I'm talking about the Panic Film Festival, and especially last year's Panic Film Festival, is we like to say at Panic Fest, you make memories.
Yes, you make a lot of memories.
And if you're really lucky, not only do you make memories, but occasionally you can expand your film family and make friends.
Mm-hmm.
And we were so fortunate enough to be able to kind of chronicle the journey of a particular participant and parishioner from last year's Panic Film Fest.
The belle of the ball.
Absolutely. Now, you might know him as the host of Let's Survive, a little gaming YouTube channel that is gaining popularity and is also expanding its content, guests, all sorts of wonderful things associated with it.
Paddy Plays, baby.
Absolutely. Or you might just know him as the writer and director of 2019's The Perished, which did play at 2020's Panic Film Festival and is currently streaming on Amazon Prime. Please welcome back to Nightmare Junkhead, the one and only Paddy Murphy.
Guys, I miss you so much. Come save me. Bring me to Kansas City. I miss you. I can't deal with this.
Oh, we miss you too. We missed you since like the day after Panic Fest. It was ridiculous because like we came back to do another hosting gig like on that Monday, and we were all thinking like, man, we wish Paddy was here. Shit, you know.
I came back and I was watching like the highlights of like the Super Bowl, and it was just KC, and people were going crazy because the Super Bowl was on the Sunday. I came back on the Thursday, and I was just like, oh, imagine how cool KC would be right now. What could I do?
As cool as it was, my friend, it wasn't as cool because there was still that Paddy-shaped hole in all of our lives.
But the interesting thing about it is that Panic Fest was almost the great cherry on top before the world closed. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I keep saying this. I'm so glad we got to have that 1 week of like pure magic before the world shut down.
Yeah.
Like, we were the lucky ones, guys. We were the lucky ones.
Very weird to get it under the wire like that, because I think everything shut down like a week, 2 weeks after Panic Fest wrapped up. God damn, that's insane how that happens.
Well, and even, just in terms of local filmmaking here, Jill Gavargazian's The Stylist
Yeah.
pretty much wrapped right before everything got shut down as well. So it was just happenstance, and quite honestly, was probably the fuel I think a lot of us needed to get through this past year.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so, yeah, 100%.
Because
it was
when-
like, I kept thinking, look, if we get through this thing, there's a chance for more of those experiences. So just head down, buckle up, and ride this thing out.
No if, when we get through this, my
Yeah,
friend.
exactly. That's a very good point.
It was 100%.
Let's survive.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, hey, you know what? That's the perfect place to start because, again, a lot of our listeners are probably familiar with your episode that you came on during Panic Fest and talked the Perished.
Okay, dude.
Okay, dude. But since then, obviously, you've expanded your repertoire there. So tell us a little bit about Paddy Plays and Let's Survive.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, the pandemic here in Ireland really, I can actually pinpoint it, right? Friday, the 13th of March. And the reason that I remember that is that was our hometown premiere of The Perished. And literally, we got told on the Thursday, the 12th, the whole country's going to be shut down tomorrow. You can't have your premiere.
Oh, no. Oh, my
So-
God.
I had to send messages out to all the cast and crew, be like, guys, we had sold like loads of tickets and everything. And I was like, guys, I'm really sorry, but we're gonna have to push this back. God, I wish we were still this naive. I was like, guys, we're gonna have to push this back by about 6 weeks, Wow. But yeah, obviously I came to realize very quickly that it wasn't going to be just 6 weeks. And I was like, around this same time, I submitted another film to Screen Ireland for funding. It didn't get accepted. I wonder if, the more I think about it, it's probably because they were like, well, we don't even know what we're going to be doing for the next year as well. But so I was like, I need to do something. And I didn't feel like writing. I wasn't in that state of mind. So I was like, what else do I love? I love video games. I eat, sleep, and breathe video games. I was like, I'll just be one of those annoying dicks on YouTube that's like really self-indulgent stuff. So I decided to start this little fun YouTube gaming channel for just me. Originally started out just me playing games and sometimes with my friends and stuff like that. And then a good mate of mine, Steve J. Palmer, who played Bill Williamson in Red Dead Redemption, was like, I'd love to do an interview with you, man. I was like, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. So I did that. And then he was like, he kind of came back with like, oh, I've got another guest if you'd be interested. And then I reached out. Funny enough, a lot of it spawned from the horror community, because one of the next guests I got on was Graham Resnick, who I brought him on as the co-writer of Until Dawn, him and Larry Fessenden.
Mm-hmm.
But in my head, I'm like, this is Graham who wrote Dead Wax and directed Dead Wax. And Larry, who is the fucking godfather of indie horror. Like, I was more nervous. Every interview I've done, the one with Larry Fessenden was the one that I was the most nervous on, because I idolize him. But yeah, so the interviews became a really big component of the channel, and like people seem to really gravitate to them. So I was like, I guess I'll focus my attention on this. And then I started doing the Twitch streaming as well for the fun of it. And I just got really addicted to all this content creation stuff. Built a really nice community. And at a time where like you can't go and visit your mates down the road, or, it's nice to have this community, this online community. Now, the only thing that screws me up is time zones, because most of my friends are US based. But yeah, it's been amazing. And I mean, yeah, as you say, we've really grown. I mean, we're just coming up on 700 subscribers on the YouTube in just under a year. And I think I've 400 and something followers on Twitch. But it's not even about, I keep saying it's not a numbers game for me. It's nice when you see that you're growing, but really it's about the community. It's about just getting people involved and having fun conversations.
Absolutely.
Like you guys.
Well, and then I'm not a modern gamer by any means, but Genius, however, whenever I watch one of your videos, I'm like, you're talking directly to him at this point.
I'm a subscriber. I'm one of your 700, dude. I fucking watch it. I
baby.
love your interviews with like the cast of Red Dead, because like they started hitting up when I was like huge into Red Dead again. When, like I got online and started fucking playing. I'm like, oh well, look, it's Paddy talking to Arthur Morgan. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna listen. So like, yeah.
Well, and I love the kind of the interconnectivity between the horror community, the video game community or just genre in general, be it film, video games,
Music.
books. Yeah, exactly. There's just that connective tissue.
Yeah.
Because we all just when you genuinely love what you're talking about, it's not work. You're just getting
it's
a chance.
easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why I think why people gravitate towards it, because it is genuine. You're not doing it because you think it's going to make money or anything along those lines. It's because it's a good outlet for you. And that's why I think Genius and I, at this point, why we continue to do it, it's not a numbers game for us. It's because it's a chance to promote things
and
without
meet cool fucking people like you, Patty.
Yes.
Champion the shit. I always say this: champion the shit out of the stuff you love. And I just don't talk about the stuff that I hate. Although sometimes it's fun to talk about the stuff you hate. I guess we'll get to that in a while.
Oh, shit.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. Shots fired hard. Pow.
Well,
No, it's true though. It is. I don't know if I would have gotten through last year, just being entirely honest, without this outlet and connecting with people. And yeah, like, if you start making it about, like, it's the same as with filmmaking, right? I'm going to put it this way: it's the exact same mentality. If you start making it about, like, I'm going to be a rich and famous filmmaker, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
100% true. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions on the gaming aspect and the horror stuff. I posed this question out earlier, just randomly on Facebook. They announced that there's a new Turbo Kid video game coming out.
Yes.
And it looks great, Metroidvania style, and music by Lamados too. So my question to you, Patty, especially involving like horror games and whatnot, and regular games, how do you feel about movies that are turned into video games and then video games that are turned into movies?
So this is an interesting question because, like, I feel like there's different eras that this applies across, because when I think back to like the NES era, the movie tie-ins were kind of really good, like NES Genesis era, like stuff like Alien 3 and you know, on the Genesis was like amazing. And I feel like a lot of movie tie-ins in that generation were like actually really solid because they didn't really have to connect up story-wise or anything. They were just like, run around and shoot stuff, it'll be fun. And then we got into the 2000s. I find, like, even skipping the PS1 generation, like, and the PS2 era, I found the movie tie-ins started to there were some gems like Spider-Man 2 and stuff, but then there was some real trash as well. And I think a lot of love was lost for the movie tie-in genre around that, like, kind of, subgenre, I suppose, at that time. But now, looking at the thing that got me excited about what you're even just talking about, in particular there, the Turbo Kid game, is I looked at it and I went, it's like they're doing that old school movie tie-in again, where it is set in the world of Turbo Kid. It feels like Turbo Kid, the music's like Turbo Kid, but it's not like trying to recreate beat for beat Turbo Kid, you know? So that excites me.
Me too. And like, I like video game adaptation movies too, because I really enjoyed Rampage. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, I forgot about going the other way. I mean, I have a much more, in my history with the other way around is kind of more complicated. I love Paul W.S. Anderson's Mortal Kombat so much. I had so much fun with that movie. I snuck into it when I was like, for my 12th birthday, I think it was.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And there's been like a handful. I'm trying to think of any other one that I actually like. I love the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I thought that was great. I like Detective Pikachu.
I did too.
You didn't?
I did. You did. I did.
Oh yeah. It was a lot of fun. It was. But I find like a lot of them. Again, I feel like it's era based because I feel like from like 1997 to like 2015 was just a nebulous period of like. Yeah,
I'll be honest. I'll go to bat for the original Mario Brothers movie. I had a good
Yes,
I had a great time
you.
in that movie. I saw that theater in the theater. I went to see it and I was excited for it.
It's because you're part of the John Leguizamo fan club, my friend. That's okay.
and Bob Hoskins. I can't say the same with like the Assassin's Creed movie, but I really enjoyed it. And I'm actually looking forward to the Netflix Resident Evil series too.
Same. It looks well, I'm actually quite looking forward to the Johannes Roberts Resident Evil movie, because as much as like Johannes Roberts is a director that I've struggled with, I've liked elements of what he's done. Like the pool scene in Strangers Pray at Night is one of the greatest fucking set pieces in any movie. Then there's the rest of Strangers Pray at Night, but that's a different discussion. But I actually love the original Super Mario Bros. Movie as well. And the reason I do is because we get to exist in a universe where that got made, which, like, if you think of the multiverse, that shouldn't exist. Like, we're lucky. We're the lucky ones.
Yeah, we are.
I guess I need to go back and revisit like that.
It's fun.
Mark DeCostas's Double Dragon.
Oh,
Exactly. Again, well, and it's weird though to think about how the influence has gone from the movies influencing the games to the games influence the movies now as well.
And then, like you said earlier, with the Until Dawn, that is a fantastic game, and
exactly.
it's a proper good scary horror movie if you were watching somebody play it. I mean, there's some really good, well-crafted scares in that game.
I know a lot of people who, when they play, like Barry, my hetero husband, my cinematographer, he like sat down with his wife and she wanted him to play it so she could watch it. Like, so that I love the experiences are overlapping to a certain degree for sure. Because even with The Last of Us Part 2, my wife was like, do not play past any of the story segments. I want to see the story stuff. She didn't care about the gameplay stuff. That was all me, baby. But she was like, I want to see what happens to the story.
What's kind of rad though is it makes it a family affair, and it makes it a thing, and it's also accessible to the people that may not necessarily enjoy the gaming, but they enjoy the experience of the gaming. So it brings in people that may not necessarily be gamers. That's kind of ingenious, actually.
Before we talk about movies, any games that's coming on the horizon that you're looking forward to?
Resident Evil Village.
Yes.
I mean, it's so close. What is it, 50 days away now? I cannot wait. I'm literally looking at the countdown timer like every day. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it looks great. I'm ready to tackle a big giant vampire woman. I'm down for that.
Crush me, Lady Dimitrescu.
I know.
Is this one going to launch 1,000 fetishes as well?
It already has.
It already has.
It already has. The leaked images launch because there's a big giant vampire woman and a hot, crazy goth blonde. So, like, people are already losing their shit over it. So,
it's. I think Capcom purposefully did this because people memed it so much that they didn't have to pay for any advertising.
Nope.
Like, Twitter took it and ran with it.
The game's not even out yet, and there's already Instagrammers cosplaying as the hot goth crazy girl and the giant vampire lady.
Wow.
Like, it's ridiculous. I ain't mad at them one bit, but I'm just saying it's really quick. I mean, the game hasn't even come out yet. So
I guess it's not too surprising though in today's day and age. They know their audience. They know how to make the message where they know the medium. So all the power. I feel like such an old man, just like looking at you youngsters on my yard. Just I'm ready to say get off, but at the same time, I'm like, I kind of like what you're peddling, so you know.
You guys are over there talking about that Nintendo.
It's funny though, because Greg, something you said really struck with me there a second ago. Okay, so if I flash back in time to when I visited you guys last year, the person I was back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did not understand the idea of YouTube Let's Plays or Twitch whatsoever. I literally was that old man aesthetic that was like, why would you watch somebody else play video games? Just pick up a controller and play the game. What's wrong with you? And it's weird because what you said a second ago about how it's cool you can have somebody just passively watch a video game now and get the same enjoyment out of it. That's really what I started to learn about YouTube and Twitch was like, oh wait, also the big secret of all that is that people don't watch YouTube and Twitch for the games. They watch YouTube and Twitch for the people, the personalities. Yep. And so as long as you're a big, loud, obnoxious fool like me, you'll get some people who like you.
Hey. Hey. Just the light bulb just on. Boom.
Just tone it down, genius. Tone it down.
2 days later, Genius had 14 million followers.
One day later, I had negative 13 million followers. Well, let's see what I'm gonna do with this giant vampire lady and this hot goth, and then just this account has been shut down,
Permanently suspended.
right?
It would, again, staying on brand. I think that would be appropriate somehow. No, even as someone that, like I said, is a non-gamer like myself, the reason I am also one of the subscribers is I do enjoy your candor and your just overall enthusiasm of who you're talking to and what you're talking about. And I think I am a pretty good judge of character when it comes to sussing out people that aren't necessarily 100% genuine. And like I said, there's something that just exudes into the interviews, and I I appreciate that. And it's a way of just seeing a friend from afar and just seeing you do something and just seeing you happy doing it, which is always a nice thing.
Because you're a good, genuine dude, and like it shows. Even if we didn't meet you and know this already, we would be able to tell by your videos and just being you.
Well, quite honestly, man, I was we did Movie Crypt Live yesterday, and I happened to say in the
God,
chat, I was like, "Hey,
Live.
I'm chatting with Patty Murphy," and he wanted and just immediately flooded with, "Oh, we love Patty. Where's Patty?" And it was just so many communities love you, my friend. So just know, from across the pond, Movie Crypt, Screenland, Nightmare Junkhead, the gaming community in large, thank you for being rad.
Oh man, thank you. I will just say quickly, I will very quick plug for the last interview I did, which was with a Twitch streamer named Sweetheart Ali. And one huge part of what we talked about was exactly that, was that like, if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, everybody will identify it through the screen right away. They will know. And like the reason that I fall in love with so many other streamers that I know, like I will stay up till 3 and 4 in the morning watching them. And, you know, while I'm editing, I'll have an edit open on this screen, and on the other monitor, I'll be watching a streamer, is because I just feel that real, genuine energy from them. It's not forced or fake or BS. It's just like, I know that if I met that person in reality, I'd be like, we would click. We would get on so well, you know. Yeah, it is. It's amazing. And I really do appreciate, because yeah, like the last year has been hard. So having those chances to reach out to people. I mean, I have thought, I've kind of steered away from it, but I've thought about going into more serious, every so often putting out like maybe a more serious video about like mental health struggles and the things I've been doing in that sense. And I've kind of steered away from it up until probably the last two to 3 weeks. I've started to go like, you know what? I think I'm far enough removed from the worst of that now that I could talk about it. And I'm always up for destigmatizing that stuff and talking about it. And so like, that might be coming soon. It's like, watch Penny break down live.
Hey, you know what?
Let's survive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's survive.
We're survivors.
And and there's so many different ways that you can survive. I'm also in that boat, Patty.
Yeah.
I started therapy as well, and we do need to destigmatize that, because when you take care of yourself, you can take care of a lot of other things, but you got to take care of yourself first and foremost, and by any means necessary for the most part, of course, you know, beyond human sacrifice.
One very quick thing there that I found really helped me in the last probably 2 months since I've started doing this was I started to curate my online experiences a lot more. I was very much the type of person that was like, I was very like self-conscious about like blocking people or removing people. I was always like, I'm not that guy. I wouldn't like shun anyone. But I started to realize, I was like, if somebody's posting negative stuff and it upsets me every time I open my Twitter or my Facebook and I see somebody posting something that is getting under my skin, why am I allowing myself to experience that when there is an option to remove it? You know?
Yeah.
So I've started to do that a lot more, and I'm trying to encourage it now. I'm trying to tell people, if you don't like something, block it, cut it, remove it, get rid of it from your life.
Serenity is only a click away. It's really easy to do. Well, speaking of serenity here, we have 2 films here in the round of the Hateful Eight that are vying to get into the round of the Frightful Four.
I'll just turn around, see who's behind you, mine.
Here in the year of 2001, we do have Ernest Dickinson's Bones going up against Bill Paxton's Frailty. And I'm anxious to talk about these. So, Patty, which one shall we talk first?
I think we should maybe talk Frailty first.
Let's do Frailty first. Now, I'm glad we're talking this one first. And you want to talk about bringing in, you know, a more somber tone and edge to everything. I'm really glad we got to talk about you with Frailty, because I do think this could play as an interesting double feature with The Perished in terms of religious overtones and how certain dogma can control lives and put them into bad spots where normally maybe they wouldn't necessarily be. So what was your initial interaction with Frailty? Was this one that you've seen before? You know, break it down for us.
So really quickly, when I first put this on the other day, because I rewatched them for this, and I put it on, it started and I was like, wait, I don't think have I seen this? I'm sure I had. I remember the box cover, but I was like, I don't. And next thing I saw Bill Paxton appear in a flashback as the dad, and I was like, I have seen this. I just don't remember a lot of it, so it is almost like a first watch again. But I do remember that I did really like it. I used to work in we had a chain of stores here in Ireland called Extravision, which was basically, it was actually owned by Blockbuster. So it was our Blockbuster just under a different name, a regionalized name, I suppose. But I worked there and I remember Frailty, and I remember picking it up and watching it and being like, oh, that was really good. I don't think I even knew at that time that it was directed by Bill Paxton. I just thought it was just a cool, fun, good horror movie, you know. Cool and fun might be a stretch, but yeah, we'll get to that. I will say I do think this is a really good movie, and I remember enjoying it, but on rewatch, I was like, hot damn, this is actually a really solid movie. I think I wasn't expecting it to be as good as maybe in my head, I remembered it as being a bit more early 2000s, if that makes sense. A bit more I feel like I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here in case I screw up for where this podcast's going, but I will just say this. I feel like Frailty has a little bit of a potentially timeless feel. It could have been made in any generation. And I was like, oh, cool. This is just good storytelling.
I would agree. I would agree with that. Now, you talk about Bill Paxton, the fact that he did direct this, and it is his directorial debut. What kind of a relationship do you have with Paxton? Are you a fan of his through any of his roles?
I adore Bill Paxton as an actor. Everything he's been in, he's just always brings this he's a great character actor, I guess. That is what he really was. When you look, I mean, I think my first experience with Bill Paxton probably had to have been Terminator.
Yeah. Nice night for a walk, huh?
yeah. That would have been probably the earliest, because I saw Terminator way too young. That was one of those ones that I saw at maybe 5 or 6 years of age. And yeah, I think my dad, well, no, it wasn't even my dad, it was my uncle, was kind of the presumption that T2 is a big action movie extravaganza. Terminator is probably the same, right? It's no, it's a fucking horror movie. Terminator is a horror movie. But yeah, I enjoyed him in that. And of course, as Hicks in fucking in Aliens. That's speaking of video games, anytime I get a game over screen, I go, game over, man, game over.
Exactly.
Hudson, sir. He's Hicks.
Oh shit, he's Hudson.
You're giving him the Apone treatment there. No, I agree. Paxton is one of like you said, he's a character actor first and foremost. Yeah. So when you see him in a leading role, I'm always excited, just because very rarely does it happen. And the fact that he's directing himself in this, and he's just, I don't know, there's elements of his performance, because what I love with the films that make it this far is inevitably I'll probably end up watching them again from that initial rewatch. And we've often talked about that the baggage you bring with each viewing, whether it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, or today, totally changed the way you view. And I love with you, Patty, it sounds like when you saw it initially as a younger person, it probably didn't hit all the beats that it does now as someone that is a father, as someone that, has a family, and it totally changes kind of how the film plays.
And probably, I mean, as you know about my relationship with religion and Catholicism, it is. I'm a recovering Catholic. That's all I'm going to say. But yes, I came at it from a very. I'm sure that when I saw this when I was 17 or 18, whatever I was when I probably originally saw it, me and the lads probably watched it with a couple of drinks and were like, "Oh, that was good. Yeah, it was a good movie." Whereas watching it this time, there was a lot more of reading into stuff and being like, oh, what the hell was that about? And what's it trying to say here? Is it trying to insinuate that this? I read it way more. And it really made me sad, because I believe, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, which I very well could be, but was this not Paxton's only directing credit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes me sad, man, because this was really well handled, so.
Well, and I love just the subtlety that he takes with the film, because he doesn't put anything in your face to the point where it's all text. He gives the viewer a chance to really process and interpret it their own way.
It's that slow, simmery, sinister that he does. And I would imagine that would even be more of a difficult task, because not only is he directing everything, but he's also directing himself. And so putting double duty, making sure everything runs smooth. and it's he really handled it really well.
We just got a text that we're under a tornado warning, so hopefully we don't get blown away here, genius.
Oh my goodness, guys. Shit just got real. Look at the Irish. Enjoy.
If any luck, the Twister will take us over there, Patty, and we'll just podcast from there. That'll totally work. That's so bizarre.
We talk about the Twister appears like Beetlejuice for character
Bill
actors.
Paxton,
Like
It's game over, man. It is game over.
we're gonna see some cows. We're gonna wind up like what's
Wizard
playing?
of Oz.
What's playing here at the Screenland? The Shining, and so just like
As long as we don't end up in the suck zone, I think we're fine.
Oh yeah, to jump back to this for a second as well. Like I one thing that really impressed me, first of all, as well, I am not generally. Obviously, this is not a be all end all, but I'm not usually a fan of stories that are told majoritively through flashback.
yeah.
Like, I sometimes find that really pulls me out of things because, for example, if there's a character, you're like, well, I know that this character survives because they're telling the story, or you know, whatever. But I will say the way this was handled, I mean, in my opinion, McConaughey dominates this movie, which is insane because his screen time is probably about 5 minutes, or like it's not a lot, like in reality, because a lot of what he does is voiceover, you know. But he's still so good. I mean, it's Matthew McConaughey. It's Matthew McConaughey's voice. So yeah, what would you expect?
Against Powers Booth.
Yeah. Oh my God, Powers Booth is so good in it too. Yeah.
And when you approach two actors that have that southern drawl, and this is also a film that is very much a Texas fried film. It is just in the vein of a Blood Simple, where you can kind of smell it, you can feel it. Where
Southern Gothic.
Yes, and
I mean, when people were concerned, like when people were kind of like, oh, Matthew McConaughey's doing like darker films now in the kind of early 2010s, and it was like he's the rom-com guy. I think if they'd seen Frailty, they wouldn't have been worried about him doing Killer Joe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And they definitely didn't see the new generation Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
I'll be honest, I have not watched that all the way through. I've only seen bits and pieces, but I'm pretty sure that's probably maybe the right thing.
Yeah, you're go.
You know, I know Saw's family, but Saw is some extended family.
Some cousins you like to keep very far away at the dinner table at the wedding. That's what that is.
Some family you don't invite over for Christmas. That's what happens. No, but like you said, it's interesting how like you said, the flashback things, because that does get me a lot too. But because like you said exactly, they survived and all that. But yet to pull the kind of switcheroo, wool over your eyes type, like show don't tell, don't show type aspect, because this is a very heady, violent, gory movie without a lot of like express scenes of violence and gore.
Well,
it's still terrifying and sinister.
If you think
It's
about
so scary.
Yeah, well, if you think about who Paxton has worked with before in terms of directors, you know, he's worked with some of the top people, and you know he was taking in what they were doing at the time, be it Catherine Bigelow, James Cameron, just all the people that he's had the chance to interact with, and you can see it then. And honestly, when I saw those flashbacks, I thought maybe that was like a crutch of a first-time director. But I thought he worked them well within there, and it became just a crucial storytelling component of it. And again, it's when I see this movie, I'm like, I miss Bill Paxton as an actor, and I do miss him as
what could have been.
Yes,
what the potential that he had as a character actor, and as we saw as a director. Imagine
that
the kind of
breaks my heart,
right,
and as someone that was seeped in genre as well, because I
he
guarantee
would have stayed in genre.
Yeah.
I don't think.
We didn't even talk Near Dark, right? He was fucking.
So the best part of our little Friday Night Fright series that we've been doing here at Screenland is we did screen Near Dark a few weeks ago, and we've got some younger folks that are coming in, and a lot of them are seeing these movies for the first time. So a lot of them saw Near Dark for the first time, and they loved it. And they saw that we were playing. That we always do trailer reels before the movie, and the last trailer is always for next Friday Night's Fright. And they saw that it was Bill Paxton's Frailty, and they were like, "Oh, that's Severin!"
Like Severin's playing a serial killer, sold.
And it was such a cool thing, just to see them make that connection and to see that next generation of horror films, because Near Dark was life-changing for me.
Yeah.
I can tell you the first time I watched it, I came in halfway through, about 3/4 of the way through, in fact, when Caleb was confronting Severin and
Yeah.
he's, buckle up your fucking seatbelt, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, what the hell am I watching here? And then backtracked into it and just fell, because between that and his appearance as Chet in Weird Science as the ultimate jerk older brother just cemented my love. And then watching this again just cemented my love for even more.
I'm just glad he didn't have the hair he had in Streets of Fire.
Oh,
That big pompadour
the big
coif.
pompadour?
Yeah. Come on, Otis, we're going demon hunting. It doesn't matter what demons we're killing as long as we're killing them fast. Like,
No, it's as I think in a post Bill Paxton world, this movie hits very hard because, as you say, you miss him as an actor. You think about what could have been as a director. But even just then taking it away from the Bill Paxton of it all as a story, like it's just, I will say that I kind of came away from it initially after watching it 2 nights ago with a little bit of I was like, wait, I don't want to get too into spoilers.
Go right ahead.
Well,
it is a 20-year-old
yeah,
film.
and we've spoiled the shit out of it already.
Like, basically, what it boiled down to was I was like, are they trying to tell me that this was all fucking real then? Like I was like, because I liked the subjectivity at the start of like that it was, are they just fucking batshit crazy or is this? And then the more I thought about it after the fact, I was like, oh wait, I fucking like that actually because it is still up to you. Because like it could just be this fucking bizarre series of coincidences.
It's that odd seed of ambiguity that sticks with you and doesn't grow until after the movie. Like, because we're like, okay, so evil's kind of punished and maybe he's going to kill people later on, McConaughey and his family. But then you realize, oh, he does have a family. That seed of evil again is going to pass on. But what if they really are killing demons? Because apparently that one dude was a diddler. So it's like, it makes you really question who the good guy and the bad guy, and if that good guy is really a good guy. You know, it's a Matryoshka doll of like questions.
That's exactly where I was going to go with. There was a point when I was watching it where I was like, wait a minute. I was like, wait, if I was the fucking devil, right? What I would do is I would reach out to really religious people and be like, hey, do this for God, Joe. Kill these people for God. They're demons. So like there's even a level of that where I'm like, wait, what if it's the flip side of this and they're being tricked by the devil into going out killing these people? Like, so that's what I love about this movie is you can read it 50 different fucking ways. It's great. I love anything like that.
Because you could qualify it as almost not a slasher, but definitely like a almost crime procedural. You can qualify it as religious horror. You can almost a slasher flick. I mean, there's a lot
Southern
of different...
Gothic, as you said.
Yeah,
this would slide right in as you could put this as on par with like season 1 of True Detective, just in terms of those kind of feel. And I love the fact that he didn't hold your hand as a first-time director.
Yeah.
Again, you can just tell that he had a vision. He had something that he wanted to put out and just left it up to you as the viewer of however you picked it up. But you sometimes have to pick it up with kid gloves potentially, or the gloves that were assigned.
The holy gloves.
So
the gloves that you pick Otis up with. Yeah.
Oh, and I even remember back in the day, I think we talked about it the last time, Genius, but like this was on the nascent days of like ain'titcool.com and chud.com. But like all the shots of Otis the Axe coming out, you know, and I'm just like, wait, Otis the Axe? What?
And the fact it's based on a true story.
Which is even freakier, which it does not...
See, I didn't realize that.
So back in like the 70s in New Jersey, there was this guy that killed like 5 or 6 families and his partner was his 13-year-old son, and they went insane, and he went into insanity plea saying that God came down and instructed him to kill these people, gave him a list, the whole shit. And so,
oh shit, that does make it freaky.
He was teaching his son how to do that too, and the family business of God. So yeah, it makes it significantly freakier and scarier.
The most harrowing visual from this entire movie, in my opinion, is that the first time that he kind of visibly kills someone in front of the kids.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, again, right, as you say, genius, right? This is not a gory movie. It's not an explicitly visually gory movie, but it's the implication. And it's like when he brings that axe out and you're seeing the kids' faces, you don't need to see anything. You're just like, fuck, like thinking about these kids witnessing this. One of them who like devoutly believes, and one of them who is like, my dad's gone psycho. It's so rough. Like, it's rough. It's actually a hard watch. Like,
and then the abuse under the guise of love
Oh.
when he's making him dig that basement
God.
all hours and night, and then finally when it's done, slams him in there saying like, we're doing this for your own good, boy. It's because Jesus loves you. You know, it didn't seem like there was malintent in his heart, but he was doing it for the good of God.
The greater good?
The greater good God.
Yeah.
So like that made it terrifying.
I mean, when this movie started and we did the first flashback and I saw Bill Paxton and he's like, eat up your eggs, boys. We're going out. Like, have a great day at school, kids. I was like, what a fucking great dad. This guy's a hero. Like, he's got these two boys and his wife's passed away. And then it's like literally, I've been visited by God and I mean to kill demons. And I was like, okay, he's gone a little off the reservation. We're good. And then it's like, yeah, you're just like, the descent that you see him go through is like so visual. Like,
Well, and also the goodwill that Bill Paxton has been able to accrue over the years. You're exactly right, Patty. We see him on screen. We're like, what a great dad. He's doing all these things, and we want to root for him. And
Yeah.
Even when he's slimy, he's charming.
Yeah. Well, in next year, 2011's bracket, we've got the homegrown horror matchup. This would have fit right in.
Right in there.
With
Right
that.
in there.
yeah.
Completely. So
And
finally,
again, almost like Red State, God told me to do it.
Yeah.
All in the
Yeah.
name of God.
Yeah.
You know? That would be an interesting triple feature of
That
Red
would.
State, Frailty, and God Told Me To.
Oh, that is a triple feature. Right
I like
there.
that. You've got the 70s, the aughts, and the currents. And that what's crazy, though, is the fact that from the past 30 some odd years, you still have these films of a higher power influencing people to do negative things potentially. And
Yeah.
I
Because it's
don't-
a true thing.
That's just
It's a
it.
true
Yeah.
thing. The Crusades
It's-
was all
yeah.
about like
well,
higher powers calling to do terrible things.
no one suspects
The
the Spanish
Inquisition.
Inquisition.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking hell, great minds, Greg.
Well, and I would actually say along the lines of the perished is I hope films like this eventually become cautionary tales rather than these prescient tales, that they can just be something of, we don't want this to creep out again. You know, this is to keep the kids at bay versus, no, it's just a sign of the times right now. So I think there's a
Yeah.
reason why we've had those themes over the past, again, since we've crawled out of the ooze at this point.
Yeah.
So final thoughts here on Frailty before we head down to the club there, gentlemen.
I mean, it leaped out to me as just, it's a movie, as I say, that was passable when I saw it in the 2000s as just like another decent horror movie at the time. And now on rewatch, it's potentially one of my favorite of those kind of Bible Belt Southern Gothic. As you said, it's a procedural. That's the most mind-blowing thing about it. I wouldn't have, when you said True Detective there, I'm like, holy shit, maybe that's why I love this so much, is because it is that True Detective vibe. I loved it. It's fantastic. And I miss Bill Paxton.
Yep. Oh, yeah, it's horrid. It's horrid. So from the suburbs into the, as the kids say, the hood,
Jim Bones, that chew man.
a film that just genuinely has joyed me ever since I've been discovering it here, Ernest Dickerson's Bones. So, Patty Murphy, what is your familiarity with this particular film? Take us back here.
Okay, so Bones. I moved out to Limerick, our neighboring kind of city here, when I was like 17, and me and a bunch of friends got a kind of party house, and I was working in Extravision, so it was always like Paddy will bring home movies, we'll grab a couple of beers, the off license, and we'll all chill out and watch like crazy horror movies and stuff. And that was kind of our general lifestyle at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Bones, I remember it being like, I think I called like one of the guys I was living with, and I was like, yeah, we just got in this horror movie with Snoop Dogg in it, and he was like, get it. I was like, okay, man. I was like, do you want to know what it's about? No, just get it. It's a horror movie with Snoop Dogg, get it. It's like, okay. I remember, I'm going to say that this is going to be like a weird little bit of a flip from the last movie we talked about. I remember seeing this when I was younger and getting really smashed and baked and enjoying it so much because it was just so fucking ludicrous. And yeah, like I will say on rewatch, I have questions, man. Maybe it's because I'm too old and sober now, but I got questions, bro.
We are the place to unload those questions there, Patty. Lay out on the couch. We're going to get our little pad and paper out.
I'm not laying on that couch, you don't. No way. Put a sheet on it. Put a sheet on that couch. God damn it.
I'll clean it. It's still good. It's due for its first one.
Okay, dude.
Okay, yeah, okay, dude.
Yeah, I don't know. What I'll say is like Ernest Dickerson's a fucking phenomenal cinematographer. Like the stuff he's done in that space is exceptional. He's a really good director too. Like I really like Juice. I think Juice is a great movie. And there's been other stuff like he did Demon Knight, like which I also really enjoyed. And like Bones is a really well directed movie. Like my issues maybe stem more from the writer side, the screenplay side, than the Oh, you want me to keep going? Okay.
Oh yeah, we're gonna work through this one here. I'm telling you, my friend.
So obviously, right, this movie is about Jimmy Bones, who is this like kind of, I guess he was like a pimp style character from the 70s, who like, but like. I'm gonna get so tangential with this. I'm sorry, right? But like, kind of feels like they're selling a Freddy Krueger mythology very early on in this movie of like, this guy died, these people were involved, he wants to exact revenge on them and possibly their children. We don't know. And but what kind of really struck me on this watch is that like, I don't get this. I was like, Jimmy Bones doesn't seem like a really bad dude. Like actually, as you watch the movie, you're like, yeah, this dude's good, dude. He's trying to like, keep crack out of the neighborhood, and he's fucking like, he's the devil. You know, he's the good guy almost. And then on top of that, I just didn't get a sense of like, when we find out what happened to him and that these people that they'd kill him, that they were, you know, his entourage and his friends majoritively. But like the situation they were put in, he literally says it. He's like, "You should have died for me," and I'm like, "See, I just felt like he was a really wishy-washy antagonist." That's what I got by the end of it. I was like, "Is he a good antagonist? I don't know." Like,
I think you are right in terms of kind of the Freddy Krueger-esque mythology they were given, because I think, and
Jimmy Bones bow wow.
A definitive dance that Jimmy Bones would definitely have. No, I think they were trying to establish something like that initially.
I think they went in like not sequel bait, but Freddy bait. Yeah. They wanted to make Snoop Dogg Freddy Krueger, and he's the dog father. So make a killer pimp Freddy Krueger.
Right? Yeah.
Well, and also the fact that they do give you kind of a complex character, because I think what I love about the fact of this film is it is supposed to be about the effects, long-term effects of, you know, drugs in the community and corruption in the community, be it through the drugs, through the police department. Exactly. So I think that one thing with Ernest Dickerson, I think he always goes in with a film that you can enjoy just on the surface of things.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Because with effects and gore in this film, like Tony Gardner's work,
so much fun.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
So much. I will say that, like, one thing I will say is that, like, the kills, all that stuff. I love when he that annoying guy that's there from the start. I can't remember his name, but he wanders off after the girl upstairs.
The gangster of love.
Yes, the gangster of love. When the other guy, the main character, opens the door and looks in, and Snoop Dogg is eating him, and it turns around, the dog has his face, and it's like, wow, motherfucker, or whatever. I was like, this is possibly, okay, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. The other is the crack pipe that he gives to the cop.
And he gives him the neo treatment. It's
let's get hard. You know, it is like a very fun Freddy Krueger, but I will agree, yeah, because at first he's like, quote unquote, the hero of Harlem, and he's giving out kind of like what's that Denzel Original Gangster when he plays and giving out everybody food and helping out and like, oh, Jimmy Bones, thank you so much, no problem, right? And then like then yeah, when he turns on Pam Grier and his boys and all that,
But
I can see where like that is kind. But it reminded me of the Queen of Black Magic, where they have justification in the revenge. They're just going about it the wrong way. There's too much collateral damage.
Because, like, I think the one that upset me the most is his enforcer guy, who was literally like reaching for, like, wanted to reach for the gun in that moment.
Oh yeah, his
I
boy
was
that
like,
trying to
that
help him.
dude did not deserve your revenge. Like, he would have tried. Like, and I like it. Just there was a moments like that where I felt like I was like, I don't know why I'm resisting this so much. Like, I don't remember resisting this when I saw it when I was really drunk 15 years ago.
Well, because
Well, when you're drunk 15, there's a lot of things you don't really resist as much.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like, fuck yeah, feed him that crack pipe. Woo!
we're all a little morally flexible, usually about 15 years ago, as it
Patty
turns
Murphy,
out.
that you mine.
Well, you know what? I think that's what's great with this movie is it can serve as like a party movie that you can have on
Yeah.
in the background where there are going to be those set pieces where people are going to go, what the hell is that? Did that dog just puke up maggots on someone like repeatedly?
Maggots raining down on people from above. Like, yeah. Like,
Did that girl just turn into Snoop Dogg and then a dog and then back to Snoop Dogg? What the fuck is going on? The shadow play is dope in this.
oh, the shadow play is fucking phenomenal.
Well,
It is, yeah.
And Ernest Dickerson is a straight up horror fanboy from his love of like the German expressionist stuff in there, and he's squeezing it all within.
Like the Wall of Souls.
Oh, the Wall of Souls and the City
The Wall
of
of
the Dead.
Souls is amazing. And it's got like first time we ever see it with the guy lying in bed with the headphones on and it starts reaching up for him. Such nightmare vibes straight away again, because you've got that. It's like Nancy asleep in the bed and Freddy coming out through the wall. Like the thing is, I say, right, it is phenomenally directed. I feel like, as I say, that some of the issues for me probably came in at script level. Some of the issues I imagine were born out of like, it's Snoop Dogg, so we got to do this thing because it's Snoop Dogg. Like, we gotta. And like, I wish they had stuck the landing with the character, because I think if they did, we could have had a franchise character. Like, I think if he had a little more meat on his bones, forgive the pun, as a character, I feel like, because as I say, I was just like, wait, am I supposed to like him? Am I supposed to dislike him? Like, where Freddy Krueger, it's clear, dude killed children. You're not supposed to like this dude. He's a bad guy, okay? But like this, it was just kind of like this, and I get it. Maybe that was point of it. A part of the point of it is like moral ambiguity, who's right, who's wrong. But I ended up, as I say, almost being like I was like, yeah, kill the cop. Yeah, kill fucking T-Bird. But then I was like, why are you going to kill J-Dog? Why are you going to kill Pam Grier? Why are you going to kill this guy? They all had your back, man. And it was conflicting.
Well, and
conflicting.
I think also the fact that with Freddy is like you said, Patty, he started scary and then eventually extrapolated into this cartoon character, but you had multiple movies to allow that. You know, with Jimmy Bones, we're gonna try to squeeze probably like three movies of potential character growth into one, and we miss a lot of that stuff.
It's hard to go from Dolomite to Horace Pinker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they tried.
I like that scale, though. I like that scale.
I mean, they really did try, and they almost had it there. I think if they would have tweaked it a little bit more, we could be at like Bone 6 now.
Yeah,
you know?
Bones in Space. Like, we could have had our Bones in Space by now. Like,
Bones in Space, but they bring back Forrest McKelly, the guy from Star Trek. So there's actually Bones with Bones in Space. DeForest Kelly. There we go.
That's great.
Yeah, no, it's not.
No,
that shouldn't be
enjoyed
encouraged.
I enjoyed that. Damn it, Jim! I'm a pimp, not no.
Doctor, not a people of the neighborhood. No, he's actually, what is this thing? He's running numbers and spreading the love. I love it.
He's
a
pimp. He's a hero pimp. He's Dolomite. He's Black Dynamite.
He is Black Dynamite.
We even get that flashback by our main character. Well, what seems to be our protagonist. Like, again, I also felt like there was points where I was like, wait, who is the protagonist of this movie? Is it J-Dog's son? Right. Is it Pam Grier's daughter? Like, who is the actual main protagonist? Like, just felt like there was a lot of like tonal issues and like, yeah, like, where are we focusing our attention? Like, who is the... Again, for a movie like this, overthinking it like this is so fucking stupid. Like, smoke a blunt and watch the movie. That's how you're supposed to watch this fucking movie.
I think that's the way Snoop Dogg intended to.
Yeah,
like, I think
a 37-year-old Irish white guy sitting in his fucking shade was not the intended audience for Bones.
I think what happened is in the original VHS, it was kind of like in the old Cheech and Chongs. There was like a slip cover inside of it that you could use it as rolling paper, or like the VHS came wrapped in like sweet and mild blunt wrappings. And so then, like, enjoy the movie.
If they didn't, they're probably kicking themselves right now for not doing that. Oh, my God. That is so much a no-brainer right there.
But then, like, it also was cool, like, oh, it's Catherine Isabel. And, all these other, like, character actors and, like, soon-to-be character actors.
It was one of the Slayers from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I mean, I was just like, oh, my God.
Yes, yeah.
Just genuinely.
I will say that there's nothing more 2001 than Catherine Isabel being like, yo, how much you get this place for, T? Like, I was, when they first arrived up at the club, I was like,
with the bandana and the Calvin Klein crop top and looking like JJ Fad. Yeah, it was awesome.
I stan Catherine Isabel. I stan her, like, but I just remember being like, oh, I don't know how I feel about all of this, man. Like, again, like, it's my own fault. I should have gotten wrecked before watching it. That's on me.
Well, no, it's actually kind of perfect because these are two so tonally different films that are representing two tonally different periods, but still came out in the same year.
In the same year, yeah. It was mind-blowing.
Speaking of totally different, it's almost the movie itself. Like you said, there's a lot of different moving parts in this movie. And it does go from very, very sinister to very, very jokey to very sinister to very jokey. I mean, when the other pimp gets his head cut off and he's still talking and cracking wise, right? And Jimmy Bone's like, fuck you, man, should have left you in the garbage can. Bow wow. And was like bonking his head against the shit. Meanwhile, Pam Grier's like, if we don't stop this, the evil will spread and blah, blah, blah. And Jimmy Bones is just having a ball, you know? But then
I do.
It's
I
all
remember
over.
like when he kills the cop, isn't it? And then the fucking blood spatters down on T-Dog's head. He's like, did you really have to fucking do that, man? Like,
that's
it's
disrespectful. Like
It's taking a number of elements and throwing it in a blender, and obviously the balance is probably a little off with this one.
It's weird because the jokes like that take the piss out of it really quick, but then like there's something scary that brings you back to, okay, this is sinister, and then it's something silly. So it's fun.
One of the best horror sequences in the movie is when he has J-Dog at the Wall of Souls and he's putting him through it, and J-Dog is inside it, and it's that really weird quick editing, it's flashing, and it's like, I found that super uncomfortable. I was like, I don't fucking like this. This is creepy and very body horror-y. You know, you see the cop and his head is all twisted and misshapen. It's like nightmare fuel stuff, like it is.
Yeah.
But then literally 2 minutes later, as you say, you'll have like somebody cracking a joke, like I don't know.
Well, and I think that might be the reason why. I mean, I saw this in the theater, but not during the original theatrical run though.
Okay.
It was like a few years ago at Terror Tuesday. Now, of course, Genius.
I saw
it in the
first
theater.
fucking day, man, opening day. Like, you want to go see that Snoop Dogg horror movie? Fuck yeah, I want to go see that Snoop Dogg scary movie.
You were my friend on the phone, basically. It was like, it's a Snoop Dogg movie? Fuck yeah, bring it home.
Right?
You guys were the appropriate audience for it. And that's what's crazy about it. And I think that's why eventually it's still going to have some legs there. So final thoughts on Bones before we go head-to-head here with these two?
I going to kind of conclude on what I said a minute ago, which is that I think this could have been something genuinely special. Like, I think that there's the seeds of something really special in this movie, but I feel like, I don't know, and I do not contribute any of this to Ernest Dickerson personally. Right. I just think that there is like something went wrong somewhere but again, for its intended audience, which is people who are baked out of their tree and stuff, it's Snoop Dogg killing motherfuckers with crack pipes. Like, what, you know?
That should have been the tagline on the poster right there. I mean, come on, 13 or 37, you're going to watch that.
If you are intrigued by the idea of Snoop Dogg killing people with crack pipes, this is the movie for you.
Absolutely.
That and his other one, Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror, which I genuinely enjoyed. It's a good
I've never
anthology.
seen that. I've never seen that. That's maybe one to add to the list. I'll take it down in the notebook.
He plays the Crypt Keeper. It's kind of dope.
Okay.
I don't-
Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on the list there. Put it on the list. Well, as much as we like both of these films, only one can make it into the round of the Frightful Four. So here in the round of the Hateful Eight, we have two bits of criteria that we're looking at. And the first one is definitely more abstract, but we're posing you to come up with a definition or just kind of an aesthetic of what horror was like in the year of 2001. And then based on the definition or aesthetic, which of the two films better fits that? So, Paddy, as our guest, we will invite you to go ahead and go first on that. Prepare to show your work, my friend.
I'm coming from a really sketchy place with this, where I'm that kid that like didn't do his homework properly. But what I will say is, a lot of it's coming from a place of actually trying to remember it. Mm-hmm. And I could be wrong about some of the. You might tell me some of the movies weren't from that specific era, but I think a lot of the ones that I think of are. Like when I think of that era, I think of movies like 13 Ghosts,
Same here.
Ghost Ship. I feel like there was a lot of, when I think of early 2000s horror movies, I think of very slick cinematography, brilliant, really good gore gags, unless they were using like a stupendous amounts of visual effects, in which case they often got a little bit lost. But the ones that did kind of like, I mean, Ghost Ship, even though it does use a lot of visual effects, it's fucking majestic, especially that opening sequence.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I mean, 13 Ghosts holds up really well. I think it's still got some really great set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I think of, even stuff like, maybe it's not, but like from that era, I think of stuff like The Haunting. I think that was maybe 99, so it was maybe just before all this. But yeah, to me, early 2000s horror films was kind of like, you got some well-known cast in there. Like if it was The Haunting, you had like Liam Neeson. If it was 13 Ghosts, you had the guy from Scream, Matthew Lillard. And,
Don't forget Salieri.
Yes.
F. Murray Abraham.
But I think it was very much a post-Scream era, right? Like that's what I think of 2001 as. I feel like it was that post-Scream era where, like, not the directly post-Scream era where everything was like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legends, where they were literally just trying to be kind of Scream-alikes. I felt like this was like people suddenly wanted old-fashioned horror movies from like that kind of fun vibe from the 80s, but with a modern aesthetic, like with a more modern look to it. So for me, that's really what early 2000s horror was this kind of like, it felt like, from when I worked in a video store, it felt like it was bring a horror movie home, get drunk with your friends and have a lot of fun watching them, That's what early 2000s horror was for me.
So which one then, Bones or Frailty, fits it a little bit better for you?
I have to say that for me, I think Bones fits the description more of that era, because as I say, I think Frailty could have literally come out in 1974 and you'd be like, yeah, that fucking tracks, that reads. Like this could have come out any time and still, it just tells a really classic timeless story. Whereas Bones feels like, again, like I was saying, they were trying to take the old horror movies and revitalize them as new. And it was like, let's redo A Nightmare on Elm Street. But as you say, like, we'll have it be a pimp and we'll have it be Snoop Dogg because all the kids love Snoop Dogg, yo. And yeah, to me, Bones is, and it's got Catherine Isabel, man. You can't be more early 2000s than having Catherine Isabel. Like,
that's the equivalent of the mic drop in 2001.
Yeah, exactly. To me, Bones steals the show at that. It is the of these two, it is the one that is oozing in 2001.
Well, get a topical for that and you'll be fine. Genius.
When I think of 2001 horror, early 2000s, I kind of either think of like the dark and the tragic, almost procedural, because that's when things are starting to get started. But what I really think of is very flashy, quick editing, soundtrack by Powerman 5000, or like, it has to have like the biggest hits of today or by the biggest artists of today, it seems like. And again, that very, very fast, flashy, loud in your face, quick edits type thing, and a hearkening back to that old school 70s charm, you know, because it just seems like everybody wants to adopt the things that they had 30 years ago, you know, like in the 90s, the 60s were big, you know, in the 2000s, 70s were big. And I for that two aspects alone, you can't get any more pop big hit than Snoop Dogg when it comes to the soundtrack, and he was all over it. It felt like an early 2000s movie. They're trying to make a dance club. You know what I'm saying? So they're not gentrifying the neighborhood. They're funking up the neighborhood.
That's what it should have been called, Funkin' Up the Neighborhood.
That's your sequel, Bones 2, Funkin' Up the Neighborhood.
They wanted to have a DJ rave party that screams 2000. The Catherine Isabel's costume alone screams early 2000. Like Frailty to me is a better movie. Yeah. But Bones is indicative to 2000s. And so for the aesthetic wise, I'm going to go Bones.
No, good. Excellent. Both excellent showing the work here. Now, I was looking at this, and technically 2001 is right before really kind of the rise of the remakes. Especially
Texas
like
Chainsaw.
Yes, in 2003. I really think that sparks kind of the apex of that. But we're also seeing a lot of sequel work here as well. Jason X, A Children of the Corn. We've got some offshoots that are still trying to expand into the new millennium. But then you've got those in-between films that are really not the remake or part of a franchise. And that's perfect with both Bones and Frailty because they both kind of fit that. But Bones definitely was the start of trying to launch a new horror icon in Jimmy Bones. I don't think really Frailty that they were trying to launch a horror icon with that. No. So be that as it may, because there will still such a strong semblance of we have to have an icon to exist, even in the early 2000s before we really started celebrating indie horror, because Jimmy Bones was just a few tweaks here away of it. Like you said, us being in space with him at this point. Yeah. You know, my vote is also for Bones as well. Now, from something more subjective to something even more subjective, we're asking the question. That's why we show our work here. But we're praising a lot of love on both of these films 20 years later. So the question is, which of the two films 20 years later are we still talking about within the horror community more? Patty, I pose it to you, my friend.
Damn, do I have to go first? Okay.
I
was going to get a read on you guys. No, I'm joking. I'm just going to go back to saying what I said, which is that I feel like Frailty is a very timeless movie. And because of that, I think these are the stories that we will... You said it yourself a while ago, Greg, that, like, you know, we've been telling those stories since the beginning of time about, like, the Inquisition, about the Crusades, about this like, God, is God controlling us? Are we just puppets and pawns and part of God's plan? I think the story of a pimp who was murdered in a dance club, and I don't know if that's gonna, like, it probably will, if I'm being totally honest, but it'll always have a life of like house parties and stuff, as you say, in the background. But I think Frailty is the movie that I think there could be a fucking thesis or an essay wrote about in 20 years going like holy shit, this, like, let's dissect this thing, like, let's really get into it and analyze, are they false memories, is this, you know, like, you could, there's so much meat in Frailty that you could pick away at it forever. So my vote is for Frailty.
I think we'll be feasting on Frailty for another 20 years. That's excellent work. Genius.
Okay, so more people, I think, have seen Bones. More people are aware of Bones because of Snoop Dogg. But I think that's also a blessing and a curse, because more people, while if you say, hey, Snoop Dogg horror movie, a lot of people are going to be like, fuck yeah, but a lot of people are going to be, fuck no, you know? And even if you go up to like hardcore horror fans nowadays, if you've seen Frailty, you'll probably go, I've seen that, or I haven't seen it forever and I don't remember, or they'll just like, I haven't even heard of this. But it just seems like as the more passage of time goes by, more people are discovering this movie Frailty, and that's the word of mouth and all that. Because again, there's a lot more than just killer pimp with supernatural powers. There's a lot of scary, deeper shit going in this movie. And I think because of that, because of the performance of Paxton behind and in front of the camera, then it's going to resonate with a lot more people. And I think more people are going to be talking about this movie, and more people like, you need to see this movie. Oh, what's it about? I can't really tell you much about it because it's going to ruin it, but it's still going to be prescient. While I'm sure 20 years down the line, we'll still have killer pimps and like ghost stories and shit. I think 20 years down the line, we're going to find more and more instances of horrible shit done by families in the name of goodness, in the name of God, in the name of doing the right thing. And that's going to be more prescient, and it's going to be, unfortunately, more prevalent. So I think because of that, I'm going to go with Frailty.
I can't disagree with you on that. And this was a really tough one for me because I think both films deserve a wider audience, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
However, my vote is actually going to be for Bones, and it's not necessarily based on the merit of the film itself. I think it's going to be based on the merit of the filmmaker because, as Paddy mentioned, Ernest Dickerson shot some of the most largely important films in America's cinema. I mean, we're talking Do the Right Thing. We're talking Malcolm X. He directed one of the great Man is the Most Dangerous Game adaptations, Surviving the Game.
Yes.
Any man that gets to work with Salieri, Gary Busey, and Rutger Hauer all in the same film tells me there's something there. And I think 20 years from now, we're looking at both Frailty and Bones. Frailty is it's an amazing piece of work by a white dude that we've got a lot of those. Bones is, I think, going to be one of those things that 20 years down the line, when we're celebrating diversity a little bit more, especially within genre, that we're going to, it's not the best film, but if you look at the whole body of work, I think because of Ernest Dickerson, we're going to be talking Bones a little bit more 20 years later down from that.
I don't want to disagree with you.
Oh, you can.
But I think if you take away Bones, you still have the Ernest Dickerson catalog. I wouldn't say Bones would be the crowning jewel.
The question is, if we take away which of these films, I'm talking based on just that's my argument.
No. I know. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I was just I was listening to what you're saying, and I agree.
I think it's a really well reasoned argument, and I think it's good that we have this that we have landed at this point personally, because I think, like you say, I don't think either of these films deserve to not be seen by a wider audience. So I think I don't want people to come away from this being like, oh well, Bones was nobody gave the love to Bones.
Right. No.
I think you're right in that sense. And I do think, as you say, that when we talk diversity, and the thing is, I will jump in a little bit on Genius's point and say that if I was Ernest Dickerson, genre cinema, what am I going to watch? I'm going to watch Demon Knight. I'm not going to watch Bones. I'm going to watch fucking Demon Knight, man. That's just, it's just where my taste lies. But in saying that, maybe if I was a Blunt Deep, maybe my decision would sway.
Well, who knows? 20 years from now, Blunt Deep might be the norm at this point, potentially, and they might be handing out Bones with that. But my whole thing is, and it's not necessarily a woke vote, it's just more awareness. And I think because there needs to be a little bit more awareness, that's my vote simply. But I think maybe this is why Genius is commenting. My vote now, by a vote of 4-2.
I'm calling shenanigans. I love Bones, but I'm calling shenanigans. I'm calling shenanigans.
Jimmy Bones, is that you? It is him in the round of the Frightful Four.
Fucking Bones beat out Frailty. I would not have. Honestly, in my bracket, I had the winner of this one being Brotherhood of the Wolf. So it got shot out all the way. But at the same time, God damn, that was a good fight. I was not expecting Bones to be the winner.
I didn't either.
I feel personally attacked, and you're not allowed to put this episode out.
We're going to have to shelve this one, as it turns out. Well, and it's really funny, though.
I'm joking.
Both of them were on the cover of the old Fango as well.
Yeah. Well, then we would have gone to music, And
Which-
then music, there's no comparison. Joy, 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 joy down in my heart. Where versus the Dogfather, Bones would have won anyway at the tie.
I don't know. Satan and Attack. Ouch.
Ouch!
It works well. Controversial as it is, here in our
We're
first.
gonna get letters. Dude.
Well, our first matchup in the round of the Frightful Four will be 1981's An American Werewolf in London going up against 2001's Bones.
Hey, Howling versus Howling.
Right. Now, we could not have gotten there without the work of one Paddy Murphy. Dude, thank you.
Yes, dude.
This was beyond well worth the wait at this point. So much.
I am so grateful. I'm grateful for a lot of things, but this. A, I'm grateful I got to come on and see you guys and talk to you guys because I missed you so much, as we said, from a year ago. B, I'm so glad that this inspired me to go back and rewatch these movies, which, as you say, like, so much horror comes out, like, that it's hard to keep up with it and still go back and relive the glory days or the movies that you grew up on. You might have the 5 favorites that you pull out every so often and make sure they get a rewatch. But like I would not have probably thought of rewatching Frailty or Bones anytime until you guys brought me on for this. And then I sat down and I watched them back to back. And I did put out a tweet that said, I just watched Frailty and Bones back to back. What do they have in common? I just watched them. That's it. That's all they have in common.
Well, honestly, though, that's why kind of the thing of this whole tournament was for us to like watch some movies or revisit some movies, and even better,
First timers.
Yeah, when the guests come and revisit those, whether it is a first time watch or if it's been so long and you just rediscover something. And that is the beauty of Into the Mouth of March Madness. And quite honestly, that is the beauty of the complexity of one Paddy Murphy, whether it is Let's Survive, Paddy Plays, or The Perished, or whatever he is going to be putting out here in the near future, man.
Okay, dude.
I'm working. I just have to get this out there.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited about it. It's not genre. It's not horror, but I am working on a feature film at the moment. I'm co-directing a film called Lulu and the Electric Dreamboat. And it is a emo romantic dramedy set in Limerick in the early 2000s. And it's about a young kid with depression who meets a girl who he kind of falls for. And they're both emo punks. And they kind of have this kind of, the way I keep describing it to people is it's like 500 Days of Summer meets Scott Pilgrim, with less of the heightened reality of Scott Pilgrim, but like still a little bit of that. And when I read the script, it was written by my co-director, Mikey Casey. When I read it, I was like, how can I help you bring this movie to life? I'm madly in love with it. It's not my usual wheelhouse. It's not horror. It's not genre. But let me... And he was like, want to co-direct it? I was like, you bet damn Skippy I do. So that we're going into production on that this summer. And I cannot wait to start sharing and spreading more. We have an Instagram for that. It's just Lulu and the Electric Dreamboat. And yeah, it's going to be good. I'm telling you, I'm so excited.
Trust me, you're talking to people that genuinely, I've probably seen Steel Magnolias more often than I've seen the original Terminator. So trust me, my friend, we will be there in droves for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I can't wait. My dream, like, I'm just so excited to like bring it back to like Casey to the Armor or something. And like, because I feel like so many people would connect with this movie, even though it is like set it's very firmly set in early 2000s Ireland. But I mean, if you look at even something like The Commitments, that was set in early 90s Ireland, and it still had a massive following around the world. And I love when I read a script by somebody else that I fall in love with like this, because I don't have that Irish Catholic guilt of like, stop bigging up your own stuff because I didn't fucking write it. I get to champion it because I didn't have anything to do with writing it. But yeah, I was kind of through last year, as I say, I wasn't in a writing mood. So I felt like I was almost like, I do this every so often where I hit like I don't know if I'm going to do this anymore. I don't know if I'm going to. And then Mikey came and put this script in my hand, and I was like, fuck that. I'm not giving up on filmmaking until this gets made, you know, and then hopefully never. But yeah, like this film was the fuel that relit my fire.
That's good. That's inspiration is a wonderful thing, especially when like the world's beating down on you, you know, something just to get yourself up and like, yes, that is my new goal. You know, that's something amazing and wonderful, dude. And I know you're going to fucking knock it out, man. The crack is mighty.
I'm telling you, so excited. I'm so like, I don't know if I've ever been this pumped, because it's so outside of my wheelhouse as well. But at the same time, these are the types of movies I love. I love romantic comedy, coming of age stories. I one of the examples that I gave to Mikey when we were fleshing it out and trying to work it all out, I was like, have you ever seen Detroit Rock City? And he was like, no. I was like, watch Detroit Rock City. That's a great coming of age comedy, punk rock story. Yeah.
Okay, so that's Adam Rifkin, correct?
Yes, yeah,
So
it is.
we're gonna close here by taking it full circle back to Bill Paxton. Have you ever seen The Dark Backward?
No.
That is an early Adam Rifkin film where it's Judd Nelson plays a stand-up comedian with a third arm growing out of his back, and Bill Paxton is a sleazy friend. It is one of the most bizarre films I've ever seen. Amy introduced me to me, of all people, back in the day. Highly recommend it, but it's odd.
Down on the list.
Awesome.
Doesn't the brother with doesn't the third arm guy play accordion?
Yes, he does.
Oh, I mean,
You
got accordion, I'm there.
It's legit weird and wonderful, but it's one of those things, genre, non-genre, it's the reason why we love films. And you know what? I've never been a filmmaker. I have no desire to be a filmmaker, but I'm glad you do, Patty, because that means I'm going to get something good. So again, thank you so much for, riding into the mouth of March Madness with us. Now, here next week, we're advancing 10 more years into the year of 2011, and we've got quite a lineup.
Yes.
In fact, some amazing films and some amazing guests as well.
I'm so excited for 11.
I am as well. So until next Monday, this is Greg D.
I'm Genius McGee.
And we'll see you in your dreams.
Keep playing, Patty. Keep playing.